Oi, chigalo. Hey, I got the bang energy. I got new flavor this time. What's this called?
What flavor did you get?
I got blue raspberry. I don't, to be honest, it doesn't smell good. Fuck. All right.
Really?
No, it does not. Here we go. Down the hatch.
I got a random question for you.
Before you ask that question, this shit tastes like Jolly Rancher. I was wrong. Hey, yo. That's actually pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Anyway.
Hell yeah.
What was the question you were going to ask me today?
What TV show would be your hell? So like you died and went to hell, what TV show would be playing for an eternity in the background?
Oh, fuck you. oh, fuck you. Oh, hold on. Oh, man, there's a few of them. There's a few of them. Jersey Shore. I think that's a good answer. Fuck me. No, you have no idea, bro. I was thinking like, I remember like a year ago, somewhere around that line, Jersey Shore was on Hulu. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, a lot of people liked it. It was like, oh, you know, maybe it has some redeemable qualities. It was really addictive. A lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of kids that are around my age now, right? So I'm like, oh, let me look into it. I watched the first episode and I'm thinking, why the fuck did people like this shit? It makes no sense why people like this shit. It was so poorly crafted in every fucking regard, and the drama was so see-through and fake. I quit on the third episode. I couldn't do it. It was the third episode. Imagine 8 seasons of the fucking thing. Nah. Fuck you, Jack.
Yeah, it's still going.
I'd rather go to actual hell. Oh yeah, because it's the remakes, right? They got the revivals. Yeah. Fuck that. That's not for me, Chief. I'd have to say Jersey Shore. I mean, what else?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I went through a phase where I watched Jersey Shore.
Really?
But that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I hear you. No, you come back now. I'm telling you.
I mostly watched it because my sister was into it, and then I just watched it with her just because.
You know what else would be hell for me? It's Hell's Kitchen. Now, Hell's Kitchen was good for the first few seasons, but then it got to a point where they got so fucking lazy that once I got to like the 5th season, I couldn't force myself to do it anymore. And there's like 15 of them?
There's a shit ton of seasons.
I couldn't do it. Oh, I have a good one. You know what would be hell for me? Storage Wars. I couldn't fucking do it. No, because my dad was addicted to that show, right? And I liked it too when I was a kid because I didn't know no better. Then I watched the first few episodes again when I was older. I'm like, this is a fucking joke. This is ridiculous. Yeah. You know, I think for me, the pattern is it's like kind of reality TV that feels like a waste of time. Like you could never keep me in a room to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I couldn't do it.
No.
You know, it's just
that would be hell.
I agree. Those reality TV shows that give you like surface level drama and offer absolutely nothing for you to learn from besides the most basic of things that every single other TV show or movie has ever covered. You know, it's just for me, hell would be watching BS reality TV shows like those. Fuck that.
Well, one of my answers is Catfish.
Catfish, what's that?
The TV show?
The TV
where
show.
People get catfished online, and they basically bring in these MTV guys to help basically find out who like the real person is behind the account. Every episode is literally the fucking same, and this show has been going on for years.
Nah, bro. I couldn't do it. Like my 600-pound life, I'd be looking at that shit too, and it just like, yeah, it scares me. But after the second episode, I'm like, why am I watching this? You know? Oh, like Hoarders. Hoarders is a big one. Hoarders for me, it's just like after you watch the first couple episodes, the shock is gone, and it's just the same recipe over and over and over and over. Look how bad this person is. Look how bad her life is. Look how good we clean up the house. Look how this person never changes. Again and again and again. It's like, bro, stop it. I don't want to watch this shit. I stay away from it. I can't watch reality TV. You want a good reality TV show? I'll give you a good one right here. Total Drama Island. Peak cinema, bro. That's what you want. That's the best reality TV show ever made, by far.
Like an actual reality show.
No, fuck you. There are no good reality TV shows. Give me a break. Jesus Christ. Total Drama Island, peak. I don't care. Catfish, huh?
Yeah.
I might have to give it a watch.
Or like, this is just being like a nitpick of mine, but like a sitcom with a laugh track.
Oh,
There's some good ones, but there's a lot of them.
there's
I
a
just find
lot
annoying.
of bad ones. I remember watching this one with Kevin James where he's like the pit chief of like a race car team, and it's so cookie cutter and bland, bro. Like Kevin James, I love Kevin James, but brother, some of those projects that he's involved with are so bland. You can tell it's just for the money. Quick payday. What a joke.
Kevin James in a sitcom has got to be the King of Queens. That show's
good. That's a good one. I agree.
I love the King of Queens.
That's a good one. I agree.
Yeah.
But don't see the Netflix one. Fuck that. There's a reason why they never got a second season. Shit.
Oh well, it's on Netflix, of course.
Of course.
Has Netflix made a good? Has Netflix made a good sitcom?
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Shit. Meanwhile, they got, what was that one called? Like Big Mouth. It's like 13 seasons in, but they're canceling actually good shows.
Fuck
Jesus.
Big Mouth.
Yeah, I'm good, bro. I don't need that shit. You want a good animated show from Netflix? BoJack Horseman. That's a really good one.
I've heard it's really good. I watched like 2 episodes and then I just stopped because I got distracted.
I hear you. Yeah, that happens all the time to me. It really
Yeah.
does. Yeah, BoJack Horseman is like actually a strong series that I didn't expect to be that strong. Like I expected it to be like dumb comedy, but it's got a lot of that. But it's also got like some genuine life lessons about like how you can be narcissistic, how you lack accountability, how people fall into vices of addiction. Like it's a strong, humble showing. But it's also got some fucked up shit in it. It's a good mix. See what I'm saying? It's a great mix.
Yeah. That's all you need.
I agree. Yeah, no, Netflix pisses me off. I'm sorry. I be seeing like really cool like ideas being thrown to Netflix, and I'm like, don't do it, don't do it. You know?
Yeah, nothing kills a show more than when it says only on Netflix.
Netflix original. No. What kills an idea more is when it says something like a Peacock original or something. Like, get this shit out of here. Remember Halloween Ends? Nah, I couldn't do it. Fucking hell.
I was just Universal trying to get people to go on their streaming service because no one else would do it otherwise.
That hurt my feelings when I saw that. I'm like, no way.
The only reason we have Peacock now is WWE.
Yeah, for real. That's literally the only reason why I have it. And then Oppenheimer came up on Peacock. Is like, yeah, but I bought the Blu-ray, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Oppenheimer was pretty peak. Not gonna lie, that was like
Indeed
a special one. Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Mwah. That's it.
Crazy that it's already been a year since fucking Oppenheimer came out.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that, bro. I'm so fucking old.
I already did.
Holy shit. I'm so fucking old. A year? Don't say. I remember you and me seeing Oppenheimer in Dolby as if it was yesterday, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie was peak everything. Peak dialogue, peak cinematography, it's fucking everything. Performance-wise, beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Christ.
I was actually just talking with a friend of mine the other day about how, like, I love Christopher Nolan, but I'm also not the biggest fan of Christopher Nolan's, like, movies. Just,
for example.
in general. Like, I know people love Christopher Nolan, but, like, I don't know, for me, there's some movies of his, like Inception, right? Where the movie, to me, feels pretentious. It's like, a lot of people consider Christopher Nolan movie like a masterpiece, and I feel like he knows that. And, like, you can just feel it from, like, the movie where it's just like, hey, this shit's a masterpiece, all right?
You
like,
already
right,
know.
I fucking get it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but for me, I think I'm just weird, but I don't know. It's like I feel the ego, like, through the screen.
I definitely feel that for Inception. Absolutely.
Inception is like the number one example of that.
Yes.
Like, I would say maybe if I had to pick another movie of his that kind of feels that way, The Dark Knight Rises a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say that too, especially with how the pacing can be at times. I feel like he really lingers on shots in some areas, and that kind of like drags it a bit. I do feel the pretentiousness in that one. I will tell you.
Oh, Tenet for sure.
I haven't seen Tenet. I need to see it.
Yeah, it feels pretentious to me. It's just like a lot of people are gonna be like, what the fuck does he mean by that? But, like, it makes sense to me. Like, I don't know, I just feel it when I'm watching a Christopher Nolan movie. I'm like, damn, like, he thinks this shit's a masterpiece, and he knows people are gonna love it. So,
well, yeah, I mean,
know.
he's Nolan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy. I have like so much respect for Christopher Nolan.
But
I
you
mean,
could see it in
I
his
would
art.
love to be in his shoes, but I feel it. Like I can feel it every
Yeah.
time I watch a Christopher Nolan movie.
SOS Normal. Yeah, we're not and to be honest, and let's be frank here, Nolan pull out some bangers. We both know that. Well, what he's saying.
Oh yeah, no,
what he's
I
saying,
love Christopher Nolan, but I don't like him at the same time.
right? Yeah. I hear you, bro. Yeah, he's not my favorite director, but he's definitely up there.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that Inception's definitely a good showcase of that. I haven't seen Tenet. I feel like Interstellar doesn't suffer from that at all, though. Interstellar is just perfection.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just peak.
It's peak. And then you got The Dark Knight for me, which is my favorite out of the trilogy. Como se dice, but I know you prefer the other one. You'll get to that. But Dark Knight for me has always been my favorite out of the trilogy, simply because of how it's shot, how everything's so practical, how it feels so real. Right, and Nolan's really good at making you feel the stakes, feel the tension, and that's what Dark Knight delivers to the umpteenth degree is the fucking tension. Especially that finale scene with Harvey Dent and the kids and Gary Oldman. It's like, who's dying? Oh shit, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really good one. What's your favorite out of the trilogy?
Out of the Dark Knight trilogy?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Batman Begins, because. And they talk about it a lot if you watch the behind the scenes for Batman Begins, is that they feel like a lot of the Batman movies aren't about Batman, which, I mean, they're correct in that, because before that we only really had the Michael Keaton ones, and then Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, but the focus is always on the villains, and it started with the first Michael Keaton Batman movie with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Batman's not in that movie a lot. Jack Nicholson is more the main character than Batman is. The story's more focused around the Joker than it is around Batman. Batman's just kind of there. And so with Batman Begins, they really wanted to take a step back and, tell his origin and how he became, Batman. But it's also a lot of a character study, so it tells you a lot of kind of Bruce Wayne's mindset and like kind of how he thinks with the criminals in Gotham and why he wants to try to help them and how he goes about doing that. So that's why I really like...
He finds them repulsive, in a way. Yeah, I hear you.
Not even. He feels sympathetic towards them, because he in Batman Begins, they explain he was a criminal for many years. When he left Gotham and he was just kind of fighting for survival, like on the other side of the world, he had to do some criminal things to get by, like steal food. That kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
thing.
I'm sorry.
So,
I'm thinking about
and...
something else. My apologies. You're right. It's been a while since I've seen it. You're right.
Oh yeah.
I remember exactly what you're talking about.
He's sympathetic towards them. Like he just hates that Gotham as a city is the way it is, and that people have to resort to these kinds of things for survival and to feel, I guess, like in a way, just to, like make money and feel some kind of wholeness. It's that's what I like about Batman Begins, is that whole perspective of Batman and Gotham.
Well, it's definitely closer to comic accurate, I remember seeing clips from like the animated series about how Batman will genuinely give out a helping hand to people. Like that has nothing to do with crime fighting. It's just he's just a nice guy,
Yeah. And I feel like that's what a lot of people miss. They just like, he just beats up on poor people. It's like, nah, not really. I mean, early days maybe, when he's angry as fuck and hates the world.
Hence the new Batman movie, where that's where I found the repulsiveness from, because he's angry. That's what I was thinking of. I wasn't thinking about
Robert
the right
Pattinson
Batman.
is disgusted by the criminals.
He's angry at everything because he needs to be Batman, but he kind of finds that Batman's more than just an aggressor. He's a symbol of light. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So that's all. Like, I love stories of Batman in his early years, and while it can get repetitive, like seeing the same thing over and over, what makes Batman interesting to me is that progression from starting off as like being repulsed by criminals and hating them to becoming that sympathetic figure. And I feel like what's different about Batman Begins is while he is brutal towards criminals and he doesn't really hold back, I feel like that sympatheticness is kind of there from the beginning,
Right.
And like it's like right in the beginning, he understands it's like, okay, these people need my help, and that Batman can be used as not just as a source of fear, but a source for good. And I feel like in a way, it makes Christian Bale's Batman so much wiser than the others, because he figures that shit out very quickly. And so Batman Begins is really a character study, and that's why it's my favorite of the trilogy.
I hear you.
The Dark Knight, they wanted to make The Dark Knight also like a Batman focused movie, and they did do that pretty well, but they just weren't expecting Heath Ledger to really steal the show like he did.
Which is
and
crazy.
So in a way,
right?
I feel like a lot of people remember more Joker than they do Batman in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
And that's what they wanted to avoid, but that's what ended up happening just because Heath Ledger is so fucking good as the Joker.
I don't think there's any way to plan for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like we casted him, but we casted him way too fucking well. And now all of a sudden we have all of this Heath Ledger footage. I mean, the movie started with the Joker. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You gotta love it. I mean, Heath Ledger pulls a performance that is out of this fucking world. I'm sorry, he's still my favorite Joker. And Joaquin put up a hell of a fight. Same with Jack Nicholson. I love Jack Nicholson, and I prefer Jack Nicholson in other films. But brother, Heath Ledger pulled something so strong out of his ass that is only rivaled by Mark Hamill. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feels like new Jokers are still trying to compete with Heath Ledger to this day.
Don't even get me started, bro. First of all, Jared Leto, he's not even on the list, okay? Throw him out. And then you got the new one where he shows potential, but we haven't seen enough. What's his name?
Barry Keoghan.
There you go. That one. He shows potential. I like what I've seen, and I also love the way his scenes are fucking shot. They're beautiful. You know? But I have to say now,
Heath Ledger is just a different beast.
Heath Ledger pulls stuff. Here's the thing, right? When the Nolan trilogy, he really knew how to make those fucking villains like stick out. Like Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, like that's fucking strong. And then you have Scarecrow, he was strong as well, played by Cillian Murphy. I mean, that's a strong ass casting. Even when Cillian Murphy wasn't even anything back then. He wasn't big at all. And it was a good decision to bring him. And Cillian Murphy's been on Nolan's movies ever since. You know what I mean? He's great. Cillian Murphy in general is great.
He's the only villain in the Dark Knight trilogy that shows up in all three movies. All the other ones are one and done, but not Scarecrow. He's in all three.
Yeah, because if Cillian Murphy wants to be in your movie, you fucking use him. Even if it's just for a scene, you fucking use him. So there you go. That's it. So Cillian came in, and that was a great one. Then you have the antagonist of Dark Knight, where you have the fucking Joker, and he's perfection. I loved Harvey Dent as well. He's not Joker, but he was really fucking good.
No, he's still really well written.
Isn't that crazy? That like you have Joker who's levels above everyone else, and Harvey Dent is almost never talked about when Dark Knight is brought up, but he's still a really cool fucking villain, which you get his pain because he was such a good character in the beginning, and then near the end, he's a fucking he's a criminal. He's a homicidal maniac. You know, it's like and it makes sense. It doesn't feel forced in any way. It's perfect. You know, he even got
he's like the one. He's the one character that really goes through an arc in the movie because Joker doesn't have a character arc.
Yeah, he's just him.
Batman. Kind of, but he's already Batman. He's already good.
He's in the middle of his arc. It's where Rises comes where he finishes it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But then Harvey Dent, from start to finish in The Dark Knight, he has one whole complete arc, and it fits his character perfectly.
Peak. Yeah, just crazy. And then I understand that people may not like Rises as much, but brother, I know some people don't like this version of this villain, but Bane, Tom Hardy, I'm sorry. Like I
do like Bane.
I remember rewatching it like a couple years ago, and I was just thinking, how badass you have to be to blow up a football field and address the entire country. It's like, yeah, one of y'all got a bomb and shit, walking in holding his vet, bro. He's got aura, bro. Like people like, oh, but I want like Bane souped up and like really big. And like, yeah, that's cool and all, but this Bane, he looks like a normal human being, yet he's more powerful than every single son of a bitch in Gotham. You gotta love it. All right. You gotta love it. That's another thing with the Nolan movies. I told you this about Dark Knight. He keeps everything grounded and makes it feel so much more real, you know? It's great. And like I said, Dark Knight Rises may be the weakest in the trilogy, but this is a trilogy that is peak. Up there with some of the best movie trilogies of all time. And Bane's a product of that, 100%. Jesus.
Yeah, my perspective on Christian Bale's version of Batman and why he's not my favorite is actually from a lot of The Dark Knight Rises. And if I had to give an example, one big decision is the fact that he retires for 8 years after The Dark Knight. And like, I get it, right? He kind of, they framed him as like, the murderer of Harvey Dent, and in a way he was kind of responsible for like a lot of the shit, to save face, right, for Harvey.
Right.
But 8 years, I feel like that's really out of character for Batman in general.
I mean, you saw him at the end of Arkham Knight. Like, he came back.
Exactly. Like, I feel like, honestly, even a month is like a stretch for Batman. Because the thing about Batman is that he needs to be Batman. Mm-hmm. That's his thing. He was chosen to be Batman. He doesn't feel like he's making a choice. He feels like it's a choice that the universe, put onto his shoulders. And so he's kind of obsessed with fulfilling, this role.
Well, I feel like I see you. I understand what I'm saying. When I think
if it was a year, it'd be better.
I feel like they tried their best to not belittle the ending of Dark Knight, which, by the way, cinema. Cinema. Yeah. But it's not the one it needs right now. I feel like I feel like they were really trying not to belittle the ending of The Dark Knight. That being said, I do see why an 8-year time jump is a bit egregious. I do see where you're coming. That's a lot. He's old, bro.
1 year, I think would have been better.
Yeah.
It would have made sense a year.
Well,
8.
Weren't they reporting that like Gotham was so much better? Like, now that Batman's gone and like everything. Was it going down?
So.
I think it was better, right? And then Bane came in and just fucked everything.
I think it was better until Bane.
Yeah.
It was better.
So it was better. All right. So I see where Nolan's coming from. Maybe an 8-year time jump is indeed egregious, but I don't exactly disagree with the decision. I see where you're coming from, though. It makes sense.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel like something that Batman would do for me. Like he would just fuck it.
Yeah.
He's just like, Gotham needs me.
Well, I think but that's the thing, right? Is the main thing is that Gotham wasn't going into turmoil. Now, let's say, for example, in the beginning of Arkham Knight, they said, "Oh, crime numbers are at a record high. Where is the Batman?" Then that would have been insulting. But that wasn't the case. Everything was way better. And then Bane came along, but still, they didn't need Batman until Bane came around.
It feeds into that line at the end of The Dark Knight. Like, I get why they did it, and it fits for the story that they're trying to tell. It's just, for me, I feel like Batman, 8 years is a long stretch, especially for a character like that. But I do get it.
Mm-hmm. I think, you also have to consider Go ahead, finish. I'll let you finish.
I was going to say, you used Arkham Knight as an example. In between the two games, in the lore of the Arkhamverse, crime was down after Arkham City, after the Joker died specifically. After Joker died, crime was down, but Batman was still out every single night, obsessed. Like, obsessively out. And it was even to a point where his allies have, said that, something's wrong with him. And of course, it's the whole, Joker DNA and thing that they were leading to in Arkham Knight. But the point is, even when crime was down, he was still out every night, patrolling the streets, even when nothing was happening.
Because he wanted to instill that fear into them,
And I feel like even with Christian Bale's Batman, if you're going to disappear for 8 years and you want to save face, I feel like Batman would still at least be out patrolling and monitoring things on an almost nightly basis. I don't think he would just straight disappear, because what if shit hits the fan and he's not there? I feel like that. And then that another thing is, if I had to go against my own argument, is that he was injured in The Dark Knight Rises. He had a cane to walk in the was it the first half
but then he bounced back really quickly. I think that he had I think he had eyes on things, but from a distance. You understand? Like, for example, in the beginning of The Dark Knight Rises, he's living like a hermit. He's not socializing. He's not doing nothing. I think the thing is with the arc of the entire Arkham trilogy is that the entire Nolan trilogy, is that with the Dark Knight at the beginning, he thinks he's a necessity. He needs to be there. He needs to be constantly involved. And Alfred's constantly telling him, is like, no, you don't have to be part of everything. Alfred's scared for him, that kind of thing. And then by the end of the movie, he makes the epiphany. The end of his arc is like, oh, well, you know, Gotham doesn't really need me. It makes a lot of sense. But his obsession is still there. And so while he does take off the mantle, he's still monitoring things. He's still, you know, he's still involved in some way. And you can see that in The Dark Knight Rises in the beginning, because he's not living his life. He's still Batman. He just took off the cape. He's living like a complete fucking hermit. He's holding parties, but he's not a part of them. He's not doing anything. He's just living like an old man, letting his body atrophy everything, you know? So como se dice, I don't think he ever did fully take off the cape. And those 8 years, I think he was monitoring. You understand? It's just
just in a different way,
right? He wasn't out there patrolling every year, because he told Alfred, he told not Harvey, was Gary Oldman's character. What's his name again?
Jim Gordon.
Jim Gordon. How did I forget that? Jim Gordon. Yeah, he told Jim Gordon, it's like, I'm going to take off the cape. I'm going to do whatever, right? And like, this is the end of the Batman. And it's like, everyone else sees it, but Bruce doesn't believe it. Bruce doesn't want it to be over.
Yeah.
And it takes a Thanos level threat, right, to finally throw him back into the cape and let him finish, you know?
Yeah. I feel like what I would have done is shorten the gap. You know, obviously, like we said, 8 years is a long time.
That is a long time.
You know, if I had to like stretch it, right, to like the longest, I think it would go 3 years. I think is a solid time jump. 3 years is a solid time jump, because that's also, it was like 4 years between movies. I think, you know, 3 to 4 years makes sense if you follow like the timeline of the movies, like when they came out. And then I would have had Batman still patrolling nightly and training every single night, because it would make more sense of like, you know, Alfred being like, why are you still doing this? You know, it's like, you know, Batman's gone, like, you don't need this anymore. And he's just like, you know, like deep down is like, something's coming. I don't know what it is, but like, you know, Gotham still needs me somehow. And I feel like that's what Batman would really do, is that, you know, even if he's not needed and he knows he's not needed, he would still, you know, be out there and be ready for anything.
You see, I
do get it though.
I like him keeping his obsession. What I think is better, though, is how Nolan showed that he's like physically handicapped now, because his mind is still in it, but he's not practicing it. He's not training. He's not doing any of that, but he's constantly obsessed with being Batman. I mean, I think Alfred even mentioned it. It's like, you never really took off the cape. You know, you never really, you stopped being Batman, but you're still Batman. You don't know how to channel Bruce Wayne. You don't know how to be a Bruce Wayne until the end of Dark Knight Rises, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna go over to this restaurant with Alfred, and he'll see that I'm with a woman. It's like his life is finally normal, but he was never really Bruce Wayne, even when he took off the cape. You know, and that's what I feel like, that message that he's still trying to be Batman and he can't be Bruce Wayne. No, the message that he can't be Bruce Wayne is sold a lot more when you see him walking with the cane. I think that message is sold a lot stronger I do agree that the time jump's a bit much, but I see why he did it. I see why he did.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's just it's a personal thing. It doesn't feel like Batman to me.
I got you. It's all right. We're here to talk about both of our sides. It makes sense. Como se dice? The Nolan trilogy for me, it's always been my my go-to, right? Like when I talk about Batman, because mainly it's so well constructed, and once again, the grounded thing. It's always it feels so real for me. It's like, this could happen in real life. This looks like something that could happen, you know. And
well, that was the point. That was what Christopher Nolan wanted,
and he did it.
If you ask him, he says the only superhero movie he's ever made is Batman Begins, and it's because if you go back and watch the whole trilogy, Begins is it's more fantastical than the other ones. Like, you have the whole Scarecrow and the fear toxin. You have the Narrows, which is like cartoonishly, you know, kind of broken down slums.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
And then you look at the Dark Knight and you're like, oh, this is just real life. Like Gotham is just a real city that I can go to.
Right. And I almost say you say I feel like for me personally, witnessing the realism part of it first and not reading the comics kind of tainted my viewpoint for Begins, right? You know, because I never read the comics. You did. That's the perspective difference here, guys, is that he grew up reading the comics, he watched the cartoons, and then he watched Batman Begins. I never watched any of that, and I watched The Dark Knight first. So that's how our perspectives can gel differently. It's because we saw things in a different order. You know, I haven't even watched the Batman animated series yet. I have it on Blu-ray. I gifted him one for Christmas, and I still haven't seen it. You know?
And I've gone through it like 4 times.
Oh man, you gotta love it though. Oh man, I gotta watch it. I got so many series on Blu-ray. It's ridiculous. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's really good. I would really definitely like. Even if someone who's never seen like an episode of the show, right? I can recommend like a few episodes, but the one thing I would always tell people to watch is Batman Mask of the Phantasm, because that is the animated series' version of his origin, and it's really fucking good. And you know, Joker's in it, and it's also an original character, the Phantasm, that's the villain as well. And I think that movie just represents Batman so perfectly in all fronts.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say I haven't seen it yet. I need to. I really need to. I need to play the Lego Batman.
It's a short
games.
movie. It's like an hour 20 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a short movie. You can get through it very quickly.
I gotta watch the show. I gotta watch. I remember playing my introduction to that animated era was Batman Vengeance. Badass game.
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah.
That was peak, and I felt so much like I was scared as fuck playing that game because it took place at nighttime. I was like 7 years old. I was playing the game, and I'm like, this is weird. Oh my god, there's a bomb. Oh my god, the music came straight out of a horror movie. Fuck you. You know?
Yeah, no, like the stuff with Joker in that game is surprisingly really dark.
Yeah.
And it's like, isn't this supposed to be like a kid's game?
Yeah.
First mission. He has a woman strapped to a bomb. Go save her. What the fuck?
Trust and believe. I will make a series on that game once I learn to emulate it correctly. It's all over. Yeah. Because, dude, I throw that bitch in an emulator, and it's like, I run it at 60 FPS, it doubles the speed of the game. It's like, okay, fix that. There's a stuttering problem here. Okay, fix that. Oh, cutscenes are really slow motion. Okay, fix that. It's like every fucking 2 minutes there's an issue. Jesus Christ. I just want to play a nostalgic game. God damn it. You know? And, bro, Batman Vengeance is so different than the Arkham trilogy. It's ridiculously different.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Batman Vengeance, you're a detective.
Handcuff people.
Yeah, you have to handcuff people or they wake up. Fucking hell.
Yep.
I learned that one the hard way.
I think we all did.
Oh, man.
What the fuck? I already fought this guy. You didn't jump by like 4 dudes.
Wait a minute. Yeah. You can't fight like 20 guys. You don't ballerina dance like in the Arkham trilogy. I'm saying. No. Oh, man.
You gotta go one-on-one.
Oh, yeah, and you get your ass whooped half the time. Those guys know how to fight, bro. Oh, man, because they're big. Yeah. They're like 300-pound fucking traps the size of Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. Christ. With the size of Jesus. I meant to say the world. It doesn't matter. Same shit. Yeah. Fucking planets on their shoulders, bro. They come at you.
Yeah, no, the animated series it's my peak Batman and will always be my peak Batman. I love a realistic Batman. He can be a character that's very grounded. He's one of the more grounded superheroes. But I also just love I love the aesthetic of the more heightened gothic, Gotham.
Very much.
And the villains and everything. I love Mr. Freeze. I love Clayface. I like the villains that they don't really show in live action.
Oh man, you know what a game. I already spoiled it, but you know what I think like an interpretation of Batman that really gets the villains well. An interpretation of Batman that really gets the villains, like just really gets them and understands them. The Arkham trilogy. I mean.
Oh yeah.
Fuck. It's a level of in-depthness, a level of in-depth that's something you can't get in a film. It's peak. For example, Mr. Freeze. I mean,
oh yeah, he's the best character in the Arkham games.
First of all, one of the best boss fights of all time. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and it's a really simple concept too. It's just something that they hadn't used yet. It's just is that you have to fight him in different ways. You use one strategy on him, then he switches. Now you have to use another strategy and another. And if you play it on the hardest difficulty, you have to use literally every fucking strategy in order to beat him. It's crazy. I was thinking about new shit on the fly. Oh, what if I put a bomb on this wall? Oh, there you go. Oh, what if I get him through this window? What about the gargoyles? And the thing is, on the second time around, like if you try to do it, he fucks you up every time. You hit him from behind, he has motion sensors on his back. You get him from a gargoyle, he blows up the gargoyles. You get him from a rail, he freezes the rails. If you electrocute him, he cuts off the power. It's great. It's peak.
It's smart.
I hate to say the word dynamic, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And what I love about Mr. Freeze as a character, and they use his backstory, in the Arkham games, his backstory that they used is the same one from the animated series. And what I love about that version of the character is that he's not really a traditional villain like everyone else. You know, like Mad Hatter mind controls people and kidnaps people. And he's a straight up criminal. Mr. Freeze just wants to save his wife.
That's really it.
And he does not give a fuck who gets in his way. If you're in his way, he's going to freeze your
ass. That's the thing.
That's it.
He doesn't have any respect for anybody else's life except his wife. You know?
Yeah.
Does he?
And what I love about his mission in Arkham Knight is that you're helping him as Batman.
Right.
You're not fighting him. There's no boss fight against Mr. Freeze in Arkham Knight. You're helping him. Because he still has trust issues, that bitch.
Yeah, that fucking guy. Yeah, no, the thing with Mr. Freeze, right, is that he's willing to do literally anything, right? And that could lead to him doing bad things that Batman needs to stop him from doing. If Mr. Freeze would have just came to Batman from the beginning, it's like, oh, well, you know, I'll figure it out. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't trust nobody else. It's only him. Because he's the smartest man that he knows. You know what I'm saying? So it makes
Rightfully
sense.
So.
Yeah, of course, and it makes sense. But Batman's real resourceful. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah. That's it.
And a moment with Mr. Freeze I love is from going back to the animated series. There's a movie in that box set that you gave me called Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. And I'm not going to spoil anything about the story, but a part of the plot is that Mr. Freeze kidnaps Barbara Gordon. And so he's kind of holding her hostage in this oil rig. And he's trying to get her into like a room, basically the room that she's going to be staying in. And he just kind of like shoves her in, and he's like rough with her. And she's like, "What makes you think it's okay to treat people this way?" And he just turns around and tells her, "This is how people have treated me all my life." And then he walks out. That's it.
Damn.
He walks away. It's like damn, this dude's life sucks.
Damn. That's a dose of reality for you. It was like, shit, you right. My bad.
And so it's like, you know. Not only does he not trust other people, but it's like when Batman offers him a helping hand, no one else has done that for him.
And that's why you see it. Let me tell you, Gotham is such a terrible place, and that's what it creates.
Oh, yeah.
It creates people that will do anything for themselves because other people aren't worth it. It really is that simple. It's crazy. And then you add in all the political corruption, and it's a byproduct of hell. And once again, the political corruption is a product of that mentality that I'm number one, everyone else is a piece of shit. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, so much depth to like. Oh, Gotham is a character.
The Batman universe
in every Batman
universe is the most layered universe of any comic book ever. I'm sorry, it is what it is. Yeah. And Spider-Man's a pretty close contender, but Batman's it. That's the one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I get people are tired of it. It's like, oh, DC keeps pushing Batman because he's the one
best
fucking character that they know.
He's got the best villains. He's got the best aura. He's got the best stories. He's got the best fucking everything in DC. He's got the best everything. It is what it is.
Oh.
That being said,
I'll take 30 more Batman games.
Yeah, no, let me tell you. Let me tell you something. I'll take it all day over another Superman game, bro. They tried over and over again, and they couldn't get one. They couldn't get one. Ridiculous. That being said,
the best Superman game is Lego Batman 2.
Yeah. The thing is, I do want to see Superman done justice. Of course. Who doesn't?
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I think? The only time they'll ever make a decent Superman game besides Lego Batman 2 is a Justice League game. That's it. That's the only time. That's it.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because it's gonna star mainly Batman. That's it. That's it. I'm sorry. It is what it is. He's the best character. You can't do better. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's why he's my favorite character.
He's certainly peak. Certainly. You know what I mean? Batman, for me, he's definitely up there as number one. And it's hard for me to get another number one. I feel like Batman, for me, is number one. It used to be Hulk, but that's when I was younger. I kind of thought about more of aesthetic and not really layers. I'd say that the only contender for Batman, for me, is Spider-Man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is that simple. You know, now, if you want to talk about movie interpretations of characters, like I really love Tony Stark. Really fucking cool.
Yeah, Tony Stark is great.
Wolverine. Wolverine is definitely a contender.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I forgot about him. I forgot about him.
Wolverine is another
top three
fucking character.
Top three. Easy. Yeah. And that's mainly because Hugh Jackman played him. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest, you know? Fuck it on.
Yeah.
There's so much.
The thing with Marvel is I wish I read more Marvel comics, because I'm sure I'd look at the characters a lot differently, and I would like a lot more characters that aren't really shown in the movies, but all I really know is the MCU.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the Spider-Man movies and the X-Men movies, and that's it. That's
all. Movies.
That's the extent of my knowledge with Marvel.
That's me. Like if you have like a virtual medium, like a video game or a movie, I've probably seen it. But if we're talking about comics, I haven't touched it. Yeah. It is what it is.
Because like I've seen it, especially all over Twitter, with people talking about the X-Men, especially, you know, recently. A lot of people love Cyclops and Scott, and they're like, yeah, he's the real leader of the X-Men, and he's like the best character. I watch the movies and I'm like, I don't really give a shit about Cyclops.
No. I was just gonna say that. I'm like, really? Because the movies didn't care about him. I'll tell you that much. The fuck?
Yeah. And like I've even seen, like I just like reading like those kinds of like conversations that people have about certain characters and stuff. And Cyclops is one that pops up all the time. And, you know, it just seems like people don't like how he's portrayed in the movies because they just make him kind of.
I mean, yeah, I don't like him either, and I haven't even read the comics. So there you go. Fuck it up.
Yeah. But then if people are like, "Oh, he's the best," like X-Men, I'm like, "Damn, really?" Like, can we see that in the MCU?
I wouldn't know.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
I want to love Cyclops.
Of course.
If he's as badass as they're saying,
he's got a cool ass power. The fucking laser eyes. Yeah.
I heard that animated show, X-Men '97 on Disney Plus, does a great job with the X-Men.
I hear that's peak.
I gotta watch it.
I hear that's like Batman animated series level. Like that's peak. That's peak Marvel. Yeah. Just like how Batman animated series is peak DC. I gotta watch that shit. Oh, I have a good question for you. Recently, Twitter has been coming up. Of course, Twitter, the cesspit that it is. Fucking hell. I'm sorry. I go on Twitter every day and there's a new controversy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Don't you people have more things to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are hurting my feelings here.
No, they do not.
Right? Jesus. Anyway.
No, I do not.
Apparently, there's an argument going around. Yeah, me neither. I don't have anything to do. Apparently, there's an argument going around that Batman is a fascist. Give me your take on that real quick. How do you feel?
I've seen that. So I've seen that come up every now and then. And I don't know who really believes it. The first time I've heard it was in the Blue Beetle movie. And that was a joke made by George Lopez.
Yeah.
That was not meant to be taken seriously. It was just a part of his character. He believes weird, crazy conspiracy theories and shit. So when he says that, and then people believe him and side with him, I don't think they're joking.
Of course not.
But Batman is not a... Well, what is a fascist?
All right, well, really? Let's classify a fascist. A fascist is somebody. A fascist is somebody who doesn't allow other people to have different ideals than them, and they kind of like shut them down and don't allow them to speak their mind. That's what a fascist is, pretty much. I can look up the dictionary definition real quick.
Well, judging from just that explanation, Batman is not a fascist at all.
Here we go. Historian Emilio Gentile has defined fascism as a modern political phenomenon, revolutionary, anti-liberal, and anti-Marxist, organized in a militia Okay, what the fuck? Let me get an actual definition.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Yeah. Oh, 4 kids? Perfect.
Fascism
As
for
we
kids.
learned, fascism is the political idea where the government controls everything. Yeah, fascism is somebody striking other people's opinions down and not letting them voice their opinions. It's blocking them off so other people in the population can't hear them. For example, the Nazis, they kind of cut down any other rhetoric that wasn't anti-Jew. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you can't challenge our ideals. Death camp. Yeah, that's what it is, right? So fascism is basically where you don't allow other opinions to be said. Absolutely not. You're striking it down. Not only striking it down, but striking it down with violence, right? Mm-hmm. And so Batman is now being called a fascist, probably because he would be beating up criminals of the lower class. So that's what people are trying to apply with ammunition. Let me try to make the argument. Batman is somebody who he preys on the poor. Whenever he sees somebody trying to get by, he comes in and he deals with them the right way. You know, he beats them up, he does whatever, right? And he shuts those people down. Now, I don't agree with it, but that's what the argument is. So I want you to break that down. Break it down and fight that argument. Go ahead. He's the biggest Batman nerd I know. So he has to know, right? Go ahead.
So they're saying he targets the poor, and
he targets the poor.
So this stems from the idea that, you know, all of Batman's villains are all mentally ill people that need help and need saving, and Batman just beats the shit out of them. That is the most wrong perspective that anyone can have on the Batman character. He doesn't just beat up people for fun. This is not a hobby for him. He's truly trying to help them. And, you know, as Batman, of course, he gets rough and he uses his fists and, you know, he beats on them. It's what he does, but, you know, they're criminals that need to be stopped, and they're dangerous criminals that can kill, you know, tons and tons of people in a single night. I mean, just look at all the shit that the Joker has done in movies and video games and everything.
Batman is a byproduct of a world where words stopped working. Mm-hmm. It really is that.
And
Continue.
And I've seen people say, oh, if Batman really wanted to help Gotham, he would use all his money and wealth to, you know, help out the poor and everything. He does. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what he fucking does. I mean, if we're going to use the Dark Knight trilogy as an example, look at the charity, the orphanage in The Dark Knight Rises. That's all Bruce Wayne.
Look at Arkham City, where he's protesting. Look at Arkham City, where he's protesting the Arkham prison that it should be shut down. How inhumane it is. He's fighting for prisoner rights, and he didn't plan. Did he plan to get thrown in? Either way, it doesn't matter. That's what he was doing.
Yeah. I think he mentioned it wasn't part of the plan, but he just said fuck it.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He did mention that, so it wasn't part of the plan. He was legitimately going out protesting against that prison because of how humane it was, how inhumane it was. That was Batman not beating anybody up, fighting for something that he believed in, and it was for the prisoners.
Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like a very common thread that you will see is that, like, a lot of the charities, a lot of, like, you know, balls and stuff that they have for, you know, to help out the poor and help out people in need, is that the Wayne Foundation always gives them a lot of money, and he's always for that. And especially, it's a big thing in the animated series that he's always trying to help people out as Bruce Wayne. He tries to do a lot of good as Bruce Wayne. But sometimes you need Batman to do the things that the police can't, or, you know, that money can't fix. And Arkham Asylum is really there as a rehabilitation hospital, but it's just so corrupt and so fucked up that
it has to be done that way. And that's why the Dark Knight is so strong. I mean, look at how quick it took for Joker to fester in the system, for the entire city to be on its knees. If Batman wasn't there, it'd be over.
Yeah, he's like he's the last resort, really.
He really is the last resort.
You don't want to get to Batman. And if you're talking about ideals, right, that he's not accepting of other people and their opinions and their ways of doing things, that's also not correct.
Absolutely not.
Red Hood has his own spin-off comic series called Red Hood and the Outlaws. I don't think they've been doing that for years now, but it was a very popular comic series for a while, and Batman is in it some of the time, not all the time. But Red Hood is famous for killing. He's the Robin. He's Jason Todd. He's the Robin that died and came back, and he still fights crime, but he's a killer. He's kind of like the Punisher in a way, where for him, he needs to kill. If you can't let these criminals keep coming back, you throw them in jail, they break out and start all over again. He just wants to put a bullet in their brain and be done with it.
Right.
And he had a one-on-one conversation with Batman in one issue of Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Straight up,
very early in the series.
Straight up challenging his ideals. The complete opposite of what Batman is. Continue.
Yeah. So they had a one-on-one conversation early on in that storyline of Red Hood and the Outlaws, and Batman basically tells him, I wish I could find the comic panel. I can't, because I want to know what he says.
Paraphrase, brother. Paraphrase.
I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick.
Go ahead. I got you. But there is one point I did want to bring up about Batman. Once again, you mentioned how he was a last resort. That is not that. Como se dice? That is absolutely 100% the truth. He doesn't want to do violence, and people always look at Batman's flashy house. They look at Bruce Wayne and think, "Oh, he's got all this rich stuff." I don't think people understand that the rich, people who actually care about charities, they give a lot, but they don't give everything. That's what people want, is for the rich to give everything. Oh, you don't need it. Take everything. Yeah, you have to give them the house. Sell the house. Give them the profits. People don't understand that the rich can only give so much and still be rich. All right, the rich need to be able to stay rich, and they need to keep some of their riches in order to make more cash for them to give away. And that's what Bruce does. Bruce gives away so much, but he can't give away everything. All right, he has to continue to make cash with his company, with his enterprise, and so he can continue to donate, continue to fight, continue to have political leverage. He needs to have that position. And the only way he can maintain that position is by not giving fucking everything away. Plus, he also has to give off the Playboy millionaire thing so he can keep his cover as Batman. He can't be some hermit because then it'll be suspicious. Yeah. It is what it is. The money that he has serves a purpose, but he gives a lot to charity. And not only him, he eggs other people on to give to charity with his fundraisers. It just makes sense. Go ahead.
So I found a little bit of the comic panel. I'm basically going to paraphrase. So Batman and Jason Todd basically were doing something with Black Mask. And I guess Black Mask was under Jason's control in a way. Or he was in charge. Jason Todd was in charge of Black Mask. Mm-hmm. And so Black Mask basically has fallen completely off the radar. And Batman says, "Tell me, Jason, what did you do to him?" And then so Jason says, "I kept my word. I didn't kill him." And then he follows it up with saying, "That's the last time I played by the rules. I tried it your way and it sucks." And then Batman says, "My way," and he says, "Yes, all your Law and Order crap." And Batman says, "Jason, I break into private property without a warrant and beat people up almost every night. What about that sounds like Law and Order to you?" And then he follows that up. So they start eating a meal. This is at the end of the conversation. I skipped a lot. But at the end of the meal, or they're eating on the Batmobile, and Batman tells him, "The world might have enough heroes, Jason. Maybe we can do this with a few outlaws." So he's accepting Jason Todd's morals in a way. Right. Batman doesn't condone killing, but he's fine if Jason kills or if Alfred kills. I mean, he's not going to... He's not going to condone it.
Yeah.
He's not going to praise them, but he's not going to stop him from doing it. He's done trying to change Jason's mind after so many years. Now, he knows that this is who he is.
If Jason's with him, like in a team up, then Batman's going to preserve life. But he can't stop. Yes. He can't stop Jason from going out and doing his own thing. And there are way worse things to think about than Jason offing some criminals. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense. Go ahead.
And it goes into a thing of just saying oh, but wouldn't that make Jason a criminal? Well, Batman was just saying in that conversation that he's a criminal too. He's a vigilante.
Yeah.
He doesn't play by the rules. He has his own morals and his own code, but he's outside the law.
Just like how he doesn't stop Batman or Wonder Woman. Not Batman. Batman doesn't stop Superman. He doesn't stop Wonder Woman. He doesn't stop Flash. Even though those people have killed in the past, they generally try not to. But Jason Todd isn't going against innocence. He's not out there like taking advantage of innocence and holding people hostage. He's not robbing from the poor, that kind of thing, right? He's not doing that. Just like how Selena is not really a Catwoman, is not really on the top of his list of priorities because Selena steals from the rich. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And when she does steal, she doesn't hurt anybody. The only time she ever hurts anybody is from like mob bosses or stuff like that. She tends to steal a lot from criminals as well. That's another thing. So he doesn't really see that as a good use of his time. There's still way worse people to take out. Mob bosses, big villains, psychomaniacs like Zaz. There are still way worse people for him to deal with. If he has to start dealing with those kinds of villains, then Gotham doesn't need him anymore, you know? Villains, quote unquote. You get me.
It'd be too far gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, and he understands Jason and Catwoman even as well. Like, he understands their morals. He understands that they're not trying to kill people. They're not, Jason is trying to kill people, but he has a good heart. He knows what Jason's trying to do is protect Gotham.
And so he's not at the top of his list. He's not at the top of his list. That is what it is. If Jason gets in his way, then he'll stop him, but that's it.
For sure. And so, there's even stories where Jason, when he's helping out the Bat family, he'd switch to rubber bullets, non-lethal rounds. He'd help them out
because there's compromise. Oh, how long has it been since we've seen some sort of fucking compromise on the internet? Holy shit!
Years, bro.
Yeah.
The Batman fascism argument doesn't work.
It's a joke.
He is open to other ideals and he's open to working with other kinds of characters, even if they do kill. He's gonna, shit talk him for it. Yeah. He's gonna be like, you need to kill him.
He's gonna say you're wrong, but he's not gonna stop him unless, once again, it's not for the betterment. Like, for example, if Jason Todd wanted to kill somebody, but that person had knowledge on like hostages in a building with a bomb, and if he dies, that information goes with him, then he'll stop him. He doesn't because he needs to know that information because those innocent people are going to suffer if he doesn't if he kills them, right? But besides extraneous circumstances like that, he doesn't really care, because these people aren't really on his mind. He's got worse shit to deal with. But that's the thing. There's compromise. I see where you're coming from, but I think you're also an overall good. All right. Now, when you become an overwhelmingly bad, that's when I'll come after you. But when you're a decent guy, when you're doing decent things, why would I stop you? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And last example, and then we can wrap up this whole conversation. The Killing Joke, one of the most famous Batman stories. Joker shoots Barbara Gordon in the spine, and he kidnaps Jim Gordon and basically makes him go crazy. He's trying to turn Jim Gordon into him. The story ends with, Batman and Joker outside by themselves, and they basically say this conversation kind of like what Green Goblin tells Spider-Man in the first Spider-Man movie is, we're going to keep battling for eternity, and it's going to end with one of us killing the other person.
Yeah.
And Batman straight up holds his hand out to Joker and tells him, it doesn't have to be that way. I can help you. He wants to help the Joker. That's his goal. He wants to rehabilitate the Joker. He wants to give him a chance at a normal life. Even after all the crazy shit that the Joker has done in the past, Batman believes that there is a chance that Joker can be redeemed. There's a chance.
Even when facing overwhelming odds that Joker will do it again, Batman still gives him an open hand rather than a fist. That's not what you call a fascist.
Yeah. No. People who believe Batman's a fascist just don't understand the character at all.
I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's just really meant to incite a reaction. I highly doubt that there's a genuine group of people out there who believe that. If you do, you're just not well researched. You're ignorant, and you refuse to no longer be ignorant. You're inclined to be ignorant. You know what I'm saying? It's because you like validation. Yeah. That's what I think. It's a joke. If you just read the comic, if you just read the comic or you watch the movies, you start to understand that's not how he is. That being said, I may not even agree with Batman giving Joker a helping hand after all the shit he did. Oh fuck, but that's the thing. It's a differing opinion, and he's the exact opposite of what the normal person would do because he's capable of stopping him, right? That kind of thing. But
and that goes back to what we were saying with Red Hood. Red Hood would rather put a bullet in Joker's brain and call it a day. Batman is willing to give him a helping hand and rehabilitate him.
So Batman is literally the furthest thing from a fascist. People just like saying crazy shit because it gets a reaction, but there's nobody out there who truly believes this. Are you kidding me? Jesus. There's no educated person that believes this. And I'm not saying educated like smart. I'm saying educated as in educated on the topic of Batman. All right, that's it.
Yeah. Nerds.
Yes, indeed. Geeks and everything in between. Fuck's sake.
Yeah. Batman's just cool.
Batman's just cool.
I was just gonna say that Batman's just cool as fuck.
Batman's just cool.
Sometimes you gotta talk about Batman.
One thing I did want to add though is I wanted to talk a little bit about the Batman. I wanted to talk about the new one. I wanted to talk about, was it 2022 they came out? Yes. I did want to talk about that interpretation of Batman for a little bit. Mainly the feeling that he needs to be Batman, that anger within him, that he finds the criminals of Gotham to be scum, that he's repulsed by them. I think that's such a strong factor of the film. There's so much to the film. I've only seen it once, and I remember so much. It's ridiculous. That movie is legit peak Batman. It's ridiculous. So go ahead, talk to me about that for a little bit.
So the Batman is the one movie that I think highlights a lot of the flaws of the character. You know, Batman tries his best to be the savior of Gotham, but it's clear that, especially in this version, you know, year 2 younger Batman is going about it the wrong way. You know, this version of Batman doesn't believe in rehabilitating the criminals. He wants to punish them for the things they've done wrong. He doesn't care about helping them. And so... yeah, this version of Batman needing to feel like, you know, like he needs to be Batman. It's just a common trait with the character, especially in that time in his career, year 2. That's really early on still for Batman. I mean, Robert Pattinson Batman didn't even know about, you know, the mob and their corruption and how they bleed in through, you know, Gotham's politics and the police force and everything.
A lot of people saw year 2 Batman and they didn't really get the message. So they were saying like, "Oh, this Batman is so ineffective. Oh, what a joke. This Batman, he's nowhere nearly as refined as the Nolan or the original." But yeah, because it's his second fucking year. Give him time to cook. You know? Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, I like to think personally that in the Nolan movies, in Batman Begins, that there was a significant time jump.
Yeah,
personally, that's what I like to see, because you know we see him training and like before he even has the bat suit and everything, we see him, and then by the end of the movie, or he's already Batman. He already is the character. He is the embodiment of his morals and his perspective. So I like to think that there was maybe a year or two that we didn't see in Batman Begins. 'Cause, I mean, a lot of shit happens.
There's a big jump. There's a big jump. Dark Knight is definitely prime Batman, like prime physically, prime everything, prime Batman.
And then so like you get to the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and it's kind of like
his early years.
You take like 10 minutes of Batman Begins and stretch it out into 3 hours, and that's the Batman.
Yeah, dude, I love that approach where first of all, people were always talking about this story when the movie came out initially, but I'm going to bring it up. Batman is in his suit for most of the film, and that is peak for me. And one of the reasons why I liked that so much is because they were doing the slower burn about the whole, the murder mystery, him actually being a detective. And while they had flashes of that in the Nolan trilogy, they really leaned into this, and it made it. They were going into the detective narrative so much that it felt like I was watching Seven all over again. It was just, you know what I mean? It was great. And some of the setup, it was so fucking wonderfully done. For example, we'll get to your point. Well, you're good. The moment that I think was so well constructed for me was that car bomb scene in the middle of, I think was it City Hall, or was it something big, like a big courtroom? Whatever it was, there was a part where like there was a hostage and there was a bomb, and I remember that tension I felt watching that scene.
It was the funeral for, I believe, the police commissioner, or no, it was the mayor's funeral.
Yeah.
So Riddler basically kidnaps the DA earlier in the movie, and he puts tape around his mouth, and he puts a bomb around straps it to one of his wrists. And then he tapes a note to Batman on his chest. And then so he basically forces the DA to drive his car into the building where they're holding the funeral for the mayor, and it's the mayor, so obviously like all the important people in Gotham are there.
Yeah.
There's a shit ton of people there, and so they evacuate the place, and so the DA is just kind of sitting there, and the SWAT is sitting outside because they don't know what the fuck to do. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah,
There's
they're
a message
sitting
to
out
Batman
there.
on his chest. Yeah, there's a message to Batman on his chest, and so they don't know what the fuck to do. So of course, Batman, being the lawbreaker that he is,
Just goes in
breaks
there.
into the crime scene. Yeah, and he approaches him, and so he reads the letter, and of course it's a riddle and another clue, for this whole mystery that's happening. And then a part of the message tells Batman to pick up the phone. So the bomb is also like attached to a phone, where Batman starts FaceTiming Riddler, and that's kind of what that whole scene is. And it's really what that scene really is that Batman is trying to get more information on the Riddler, but he's not really kind of paying attention to what Riddler is saying, and that
he doesn't understand how Riddler ticks yet. He doesn't understand that every single word that Riddler says has a meaning behind it. And not only a meaning for the long term, but also a meaning for the immediate term. Like, what I'm saying right now is going to help you with that fucking bomb, dude.
So the entire movie, Riddler is feeding Batman information and clues and riddles to basically exposing the corruption of Gotham. But it's almost like Batman doesn't want to believe it because, he's just so blind with rage that, Riddler's this serial killer and he's doing all these things, and that he's not really understanding what Riddler's trying to say. And so
he wasn't the world's greatest detective yet. Continue.
And so the big thing with this scene is that Riddler's playing a game with the DA, and the DA solves 3 riddles, and the bomb will be diffused around his neck, and there's a timer for, I believe, 1 minute or something. And so he feeds him 3 riddles, and all the answers to the riddles are basically important shit that has to deal with the corruption in Gotham and kind of exposing the DA for the shit that he's done. And so Batman is just kind of forced to watch as, the DA plays this game. And even like Batman knows the riddles because, I mean, he's smart.
He's Batman.
He knows the answers to the riddles, but he doesn't know what the answers mean yet. And then you get to the last riddle, and the DA, I forget what the question is, but the DA is like, I can't answer that one. And it's just, it's about Falcone.
Right.
So the DA is like, I can't answer that.
He can't incriminate himself. Yeah.
Yeah, so Batman's just yelling at him like to say it. It's like, if I tell you, they're gonna kill me, and all these different things. And then the timer runs out, and the guy explodes right in Batman's face.
Oh yeah.
Pause.
Pause. Yeah. Dude really did explode. That's wild.
Yeah. So yeah, that whole scene is cinema, really. And of course, all the police blame Batman for
because they don't know.
dying.
They weren't in there, right? And the biggest thing for that scene for me was that it was pretty much just telling you, it's like Batman cannot save them all. No matter what he does, it was that guy's decision to die that night. Very simple. He'd rather
he chose
die
to blow up rather than incriminate himself.
Than reveal what he did, because he understands that it's not only him that's going to die, it's that the mob will go after his family and kill them in a brutal way to set an example to never snitch on them. So he was thinking of his family. It wasn't a stupid decision. And he understands that if he breaks it down, oh, fuck. So
and in Batman Begins, Batman takes down Falcone in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
In this movie,
big difference.
They really. I love how well they establish Falcone's presence in Gotham, and that it's just, if I talk, he's gonna kill me. People are scared shitless of Falcone.
I think mainly because nobody knows who Batman is. They don't understand that Batman will do worse than Falcone initially. That's what they think, right? It's like, Batman's afraid, he's scary, all the rumor mills. They hadn't started rumor milling yet. It was just little tidbits. The people didn't really know who Batman was. Go ahead.
And the people, you had thugs that, did believe in Batman and were scared shitless for their life.
Right.
But then you also have people that, he's just a dude in a bat.
He wasn't established. He wasn't established yet.
Like the scene when he's trying to get into Penguin's nightclub and he has the twin bodyguards, and then it's just like one of them, he sees Batman, and then it's just like, I'm here to see the Penguin, and then he like closes the door on Batman, and and then they both come. He opens the door, and they both come out. And the guy says, like, yeah, you better get out of here, Bat Freak, or that fancy suit of yours is going to get all filled with blood. It's So I was like, damn, they just want to kick his ass.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They're not letting him into this club because who the fuck is this
They
guy?
don't. They don't know him. If they knew he was Batman, they'd open that bitch up real quick. You kidding me? Yeah. They just don't. They don't understand.
Yeah.
They know it's Batman, but I'm saying they don't know like who the Batman really is. They don't know that.
They don't know what he's capable of.
Exactly. You get it. They don't understand that he can take down a room full of 20 guys that are armed to the teeth like it's nothing. You know. They just don't understand that.
That's pretty much what he did as soon as he got in the nightclub, too. He just beat the shit out of everybody.
It really is that simple. He has to make a name for himself, and the only way he does that is through fucking fisticuffs. Because criminals don't listen to words. They never did. you know?
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. So you got to show them that you're not to be fucked with. You can aim a gun at them. You can have 20 guys. It don't matter. He'll take them all down quick, and you won't even know what happened till it's over. It's like, damn, he really did break my arm in 7 places. That's wild. You know?
Yeah. Like, this version of Batman embodies Batman so well.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also... I love how inexperienced he is, too. I mean, we talked about it, that he doesn't really care for criminals, too. But also, going back to that nightclub scene, he just walks in.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Doesn't use
like,
an alternate exit. He doesn't go through the vents. He doesn't come in through the ceiling, right? Like, like all other Batman, he would find a different way to be as least invasive as possible. Here, he has a chip on his shoulder. He just wants to be, wants, give me a reason, right? That's what it is. Give me a reason to go off. That's what that was. That's why he went through the front door. Very simple.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a nice callback, too, because I feel like that scene is purposely a reference to The Dark Knight when Batman goes into the club looking for Maroni, and he's just beating the shit out of all the thugs. I feel like that's what that scene is directly calling back to.
I love that scene so much. I'm being honest.
At least with Christian Bale's Batman, he took him outside. Like, he took Maroni outside to interrogate him. He didn't do it in the club when you can't hear shit with blasting music. Meanwhile, Robert Pattinson Batman has to have an official meeting in Penguin's office. It's like, come on, dude.
Bro. Como say, I just love, I also love Penguin's portrayal here by Colin Farrell. I know the movie's coming out. That'd be sick. I want to see that.
The show?
Oh, it's a show. My bad. I want to see that.
Yeah, it's a show. And so far, early reactions are saying it feels a lot like The Sopranos. It's a very mob-focused show.
Yeah, I saw that. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, this is it. No way. Then I watched The Sopranos. No, that's why I watched The Sopranos, because I never finished it. Then I watched the fucking trailer. I'm like, I gotta watch this shit, don't I? Okay. That's it.
They're making The Sopranos in the Batman universe.
That's okay.
Pretty much with the Penguin.
Do it. Please. The Batman universe is so ripe. You can literally make almost all of these villains or something to write home about. Like, imagine a detective drama with Zaz. I want to see that.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. So there's a lot there, because the universe of Batman takes so many like pieces from other pieces of art and throws it into their universe, and it's so well crafted. It's just, you know what I mean? There's so much there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said earlier. Watching the Batman felt like you were watching Seven.
Yeah, literally that.
They took what they could from like crime movies and just put it in their movie.
Beautiful. And it was so well crafted. Yeah. I mean, the cinematography, I remember, was a really big one for me, especially some of those final shots when he pulled up the flare, when he's looking up at the helicopter. Yeah. Like, there's so many fucking just cherries on top of this massive cake. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It really. And I feel like one thing people overlook with the movie is the music. The music does so much for the atmosphere of the movie.
Let me tell you,
it's insane.
Initially, I disagreed with the use of Something in the Way, Nirvana, and then I watched it, and because I love Nirvana. Don't get me wrong, but it's something about it's something about like Nirvana being used in a trailer felt cheap for me. It's like, oh, they're just using an established. They used like an established
and it was
song.
a remixed version.
Yeah. So I was thinking, it's like, man, okay, whatever. This seems a little edgy. Then I watched it, and then the music came on. I was like, that shit fits. It fits.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I didn't expect
and they
it to
used
work.
It twice.
Yeah, they did.
Once at the beginning, once at the end.
Just like how The Boys did season 4 finale. It's like, oh my god, they actually used Heart-Shaped Box in a good way? No fucking shot, It was crazy.
Yeah.
No, just the Batman movie is it's cinema, and I really need to watch it again because I remember so much of it, and I've only seen it the one time in theaters. Well, Dorian's seen it like fucking back to back 25 times. You know,
Yeah, I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
More than I'd like to admit.
No, you gotta admit this little tidbit. You watched it once back to back. You gotta admit that. Oh no.
For sure, yes. And was it you that I had the conversation with that? Like, I can't go back. Yeah, it was with you before we saw Long Legs. I can't watch a movie back to back.
Yeah.
It's like I can't restart a movie after finishing.
I brought that up. Yeah,
what movie? The Batman.
Yeah. Fuck it up. Yeah, that was hard it's hard for me to restart, like to watch a film and then watch it again. You got to give it some grace period to let it dissolve. And then you said Batman. I'm like, fuck, you right. My bad.
Yeah.
That's the exception.
And it's crazy because I saw it 8 times in theaters. I didn't hit double digits.
Hold on, guys. He works at a theater. He probably would have only seen it 4 times if he had to pay for it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. He got it.
Yeah.
But what I loved is that, and this is what I love about rewatching movies. I know there are people that don't like rewatching movies because it's like, oh, it's the same story. It's not gonna be any different. But when you rewatch a movie, you can appreciate so many different details about it.
Yeah, especially in like a crime drama or like when there's a big twist at the end, you feel every fucking clue. It hits so much more now that you see what they were leading into, you know? The greatest films have that.
So it's like watching the Batman, you know, the first time you're just trying to take everything in.
And it's
kind of overwhelming.
There's a lot.
The 3-hour crime epic. There's a lot of shit going down, a lot of clues, a lot of hints, all this kind of stuff. And then, you know, of course, the Batman's arc is so prominent in the movie.
Yes.
And then you rewatch it, and then, you know, you start, you know, looking a bit more at, like, you know, the Riddler's clues and stuff, and it's like, oh, they're foreshadowing something. Oh, I can see that this is now leading into, you know, exposing this character, that kind of thing. Or I can see why Riddler picked this as his victim, that kind of thing.
Once you see it for the 10th time, you really start to realize that something is indeed in the way.
Exactly. Exactly.
He gets it, this guy.
It got to a point where it's like, you know, watching it for the 7th time in theaters, I'm just there to appreciate the music. I'm there to appreciate the cinematography. I'm there to appreciate the performances from all the different actors.
Different experience.
All these different kinds of things. Yeah.
You know,
the first few watches, I'm finding new things, but the more I watch it, the more I'm appreciating different aspects about the movie.
You know, one thing I didn't expect to appreciate? Zoe Kravitz playing Selena Kyle. I did not think I was gonna like that. Like I thought like first of all, I liked Anne Hathaway's interpretation, but my favorite has always been the Arkham trilogy, right? And I was thinking, it's like, yeah, I don't know if she fits the profile, to be honest. I don't know. And then I watched Batman. I'm like, yeah, that's Selena Kyle. My bad. I didn't mean it. And the fact that
I feel like that happens a lot with that movie.
Yeah, right. Tell me about. Is it Maroni or Falcone, the main guy that gets like arrested at the end?
Falcone.
Yeah, Falcone.
Maroni's not in this movie, but he's in the Penguin show.
My bad. So Falcone, the fact that that she's Falcone's daughter, like, really sold it even more for me. You know what I mean? Like, I just peak. I can't say that enough. Just peak. I really gotta see it again.
Everyone in the movie had a part to play.
Yes,
and they played it to perfection. Every character felt important, and that's what I think really sells the movie. And you know, everyone represents different parts of Gotham. You know, Selena, she's a cat thief. She's broke. You know, she lives in a rundown apartment in the slums. You got Riddler, who, you know, he's the same way, but he's trying to fight for the poor, but he's going about it the wrong way. He's inspired by Batman.
Yes.
And then you have Batman, who's rich and famous, but he chooses to be a recluse, and he chooses to go out at night, you know, beating the shit out of people.
I can't imagine.
Falcone,
I can't imagine. I can't imagine the amount that Batman blames himself for, like, people saying, like, villains saying that they're directly inspired by him. Holy shit, that means a lot. You know what I mean? Ugh. And he overcame that at the end, but that's a crazy thing to think. He's like, damn, I inspired that.
Yeah, that realization at the end must have hit him like a truck when the Riddler goon says, "I'm vengeance." Dude, it's like, oh my god, they just turned his words against him.
Fucking hell. Yeah. Your logic, out of here. Get that shit out of here.
Yeah. So it's you know, that's so important to Batman's arc in that movie. And that to me, that's why it's the best live action version of the character, because he has to learn what it means to be Batman. I feel like the other ones don't really have that.
I can say it. I can say from like a I can say right now that like the Batman, I expected it to be like kind of a clone of the previous ones, right? With just like a new cast, like a remake, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And when I went in there and I saw, when you were telling me about the movie, I was like, this is not what I expected at all. Like I had, like, once again, I will say this. I am sorry that I doubted this film so much. I saw the casting of Robert Pattinson, and I'm like, okay, the Twilight guy, because I wasn't inclined yet. It was the Twilight guy. Okay, who cares? Selena Kyle, Zoe Kravitz, sure, I guess. I wasn't wowed yet by anything. And then when I hear your reaction to it, I'm like, no fucking way. Maybe he's just Batmaning out. Maybe he's just fanboying. I'll watch it with you because you're the homie. But I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be, because maybe he hasn't seen these certain movies. Like, for example, did we see Seven yet? Before you watched that film?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Because I saw it in film school in 2020. The Batman was 2 years later.
Fair. Okay. But I didn't know that. That's fair. I didn't know that. I don't think so. But I know that, like, okay, maybe the movie's just ripping off some older films that he hasn't seen yet, and I gotta, like, educate him or some shit, because I had to do that with other people. It's kind of ridiculous. They get like a 4 out of, they watch like a 4 out of 10 movie that's got like a decent premise, but then I show them the actual original movie that used that premise. It's like, yeah, this is so much better. Yeah, it just happens like that.
I think you told me about that. It was like with like a Netflix movie or something. Like someone was like, "Oh, this movie's great," and then you watched it and you were like,
"I don't even remember it. I don't even remember what the movie was called. Don't worry, it's not worth mentioning." But it was like the most ugliest reveal of all time. It's like, how many movies I've seen do this shit? But that's my thing. Is a lot of people just aren't movie inclined, and that's fine. You don't have to be. I'm just saying that, like, going into it is like, I can probably show you a better experience, dude. The Batman pulled off what it was trying to do 100%. Oh my god. And they were pulling in new versions, and they were really leaning into the detective side of Batman and that young rage of Batman. It was such a breath of fresh air, because when I was watching the film, I'm like, these guys actually care. I'm not watching the film and thinking, it's like, oh, there's the product placement. Oh, there's the part where they're going to use the merch. Oh, there's the political message. It's like, no, this film is genuinely crafted to be a cinematic experience that just pays homage to the original character, along with crime dramas like Seven. It felt like an homage, not a ripoff. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
And it's crazy how many people were turned off by the movie as well. Like, I've seen people say it's too long, and it's.
They were expecting something else, like Furiosa. They were expecting a ding-to-ding action instead of thinking about the film for what it is. And that's the same thing with this film. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I get it, because, when you hear Batman, right, you're thinking superhero. You think about a movie like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a crime thriller, but has a lot of action. And it's defined a lot of what the character is now. And so when you go into it and it's a slow 3-hour, like, really detective focused,
it's a slow burn
movie.
It's a slow burn,
and there is action, but it's not the focus, and there's not a lot of it. But
people went into it thinking me too. I think people went into it thinking something else.
People wanted like explosions and Batman saving the day and getting the girl, and it's not that kind of movie.
And there's also a genuine amount of general audiences that literally don't give a shit about a film that talks for 3 hours. Like a film that it's like, oh, it's got a great story, it's got great storyline, all that, but like they need something to grab them. That's why Hollywood blockbusters do so fucking good, because they dumb it down. You know what I mean? It is what it is. They don't allow the tension to build and have like a memorable experience that you'll remember forever. A lot of Hollywood blockbusters just do the now enjoyment. Yeah, I had fun with it. It was cool, and then you don't remember what happened a week later. That's the kind of films that can really sell. So I see why a lot of studios don't like to take these kinds of risk. And to be honest, I can't imagine what the pitch was for this film. Holy shit. The fact that this film was made is a miracle. It was risky, bro. Because don't get me wrong, it's Batman, you're gonna make money, but then you're thinking, okay, but what will this do for us in the future? Like, can we really build a universe around this Batman? And thankfully, this film succeeded. I think Joker definitely had a hand in that. After seeing
for sure.
Was it 2019 Joker came out? Yeah, after Joker 2019, people really wanted that more mature take on the characters, and Batman was a byproduct of that. I think that's how the pitch went. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And this is just like another small detail that I just want to appreciate about the Batman, but also more specifically, this comes from the Christopher Nolan movies, is that the Batman feels really dark and violent and gritty, but it's PG-13.
Yeah.
Because, when you think about it, you're like, damn, that movie was dark and it was violent. And then you go back and watch it again, you're like, oh, you don't really see any blood.
Right.
You don't really see any people
because you don't need to. I feel like that was the compromise, too. It's like, we'll do the slow burn, but make sure it's PG-13. No matter what, make sure it's PG-13. And I don't even think it was from judging from what I was seeing, they were definitely lenient with that PG-13 rating, but it did work. It did work, so it's all good, baby. That's it.
Yeah, the most violence you get in the Batman is you see someone get shot with a sniper, like straight in the chest.
Yeah,
that's it, really. That's the most blood that's in the movie. Batman beats the shit out of people, but you don't see the blood.
Right, so it's okay.
So
it's okay.
The breath of fresh air is what we needed.
Yes.
Because, we're in a time where the MCU dominates. And the MCU, as much as superhero films are not a genre, with the MCU, it kind of feels like it is.
Because
they follow a formula, they follow a tone, they follow the same
ever
aesthetic,
since Ragnarok, that's all they've been doing.
And so, you get to 2019, right? You had Endgame. Endgame was great. Far From Home, Spider-Man Far From Home was a great movie as well. But then you get a movie like The Joker, so out of left field.
Oh, yeah.
Rated R, inspired by movies like Taxi Driver, very 1970s kind of grunge feel.
Have you seen Taxi Driver?
I have seen Taxi Driver.
Okay, good, making sure.
Yeah, and it's a very different movie, and yet people respond to it in such a positive way.
Yeah,
it goes to show that superhero movies can extend all kinds of genres. I think studios just need to play with it more. Absolutely. I think a lot of people look to the MCU for how they want to do superhero movies, that they don't really look at what can we do different. And I think that's also why The Boys is so popular and has succeeded so well.
Before we get into The Boys, because that's a big genre, I just want to bring up something really quick, and that's why I commend Eternals for doing what they did. It's not perfect; they got some issues, especially in the pacing department. But I like that it took itself more seriously, and they even leaned in on some of the romance. They leaned in on some of the spectacle. As like you actually felt tension when they fought because none of them were perfect. You know what I mean? Like they could die. You know what I mean? So it's I like that the Eternals was trying to do something different than the rest of the recipe. And while it wasn't done perfectly, I appreciated the experimentation. That's why I always bring it up in like the new age of Marvel movies. It's like I actually enjoyed Eternals. And hey, they did The Flash better than DC. Fight me! All right, shit.
Yeah, no, I'm not the biggest fan of the Eternals, but I respect that Marvel said you need to do something different.
Yes.
And they did Eternals, and that shit was different. And I won't lie, there was a lot of cool shit in it.
Yeah.
It's just not my favorite movie.
I hear you.
It's not my go-to. It's not my kind of movie, but I appreciate it.
Well, I feel like it was conflicting a bit, right? Because you could tell that they wanted to go there in some areas, like a little too comedic, right? And it's like that doesn't fit the tone that the movie set in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I see you.
Like, it kind of felt like they needed a villain. It felt like they needed a final battle. And it's like, really, you don't need all that stuff. You
it was
just need
clashing.
A satisfying conclusion. Yeah.
Well, I feel like the final battle, like surrounding the big ass Celestials and stuff, is like, to be honest, the Celestials don't even need to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, just have the internal struggle. You know what I mean? That's it. Maybe instead of not stopping the Celestials, it could have been he'll summon the Celestials, and like maybe that'll be something, because I think that would change the dynamic because he's actually pressing the button rather than letting it happen,
Yeah, it's weird. I think the MCU feels the most innovative when they go, more weird.
Yes, well, very much so. Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah,
that's it.
Not even with 3. That started with the first one.
You're right. My bad.
Because it started with the first one. I mean, up until then, you had, Phase 1, and then you had the Avengers, and then you had Iron Man 3, and Thor the Dark World. And when you watch all those movies back to back, they start to kind of blur together.
Yes.
But then you get to Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just this, vibrant, colorful, funny movie. And it's it's a breath of fresh air.
And you don't even have to go crazy like Alien World. You can do like something like Winter Soldier, where it was like espionage, like there's a mole in here, and then they kill off Nick Fury, quote unquote, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's like a political thriller action movie.
Very different.
Lean more into shit like that.
Yes.
Not everything needs to. You don't need the most basic villain. For your superhero to punch, make things interesting.
And I feel like Ant-Man was a horrible victim of that.
Oh yeah.
Because Ant-Man 1 and 2, while they're not my favorite films of all time, they did something different. It was a small scale, a heist movie, right? And then the finale, the third one was a massive Thanos level threat one. I'm like, what the fuck? This isn't Ant-Man.
Yeah. It's like they had Ant-Man. They turned him into the most basic superhero.
Yeah.
Fighting a cliche villain. And
it was a joke.
That's what Ant-Man 3 turned into. And even Ant-Man 2 was like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Ant-Man 1 felt different. It was a heist movie. It was fun. It was innovative. It's not a perfect movie. It has its own problems.
It's forgettable.
Feel generic.
It's forgettable.
It's forgettable, but they tried, It was different.
They're doing something else.
I'll take that over, Thor 2. I don't know.
Man. It's just... Thor: The Dark World is such a boring watch, bro. I just can't. Yeah. It's because the writing, it's like a human didn't write it. You know what I'm saying? It's like an alien did, like who interpreted old what's the word? Norse mythology and just threw it into a script. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But that's why I always commend for MCU doing more movies like Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Like martial arts action movies.
Shang-Chi was great. I don't care. A lot of people didn't watch it because it seemed unnecessary, but Shang-Chi was genuinely great.
Yeah, it was great. And, with their Disney Plus shows, the MCU really showed a lot of promise too. Because, you had WandaVision, which was the first Disney Plus Marvel show. Mm-hmm. And that one, the way it started, it's based on sitcoms. And it's like, okay, that's new. You're going to make, a sitcom styled mystery show.
But then they fuck it in the back half. Man.
Yeah, and then the back half turns into a generic hero versus villain story. And it's like, okay, fuck it.
And I hate how one character really tried to justify it. I don't even remember her name. But near the end of it, it's like, oh, she was just tortured and this, that, this. So, and that was the message we were supposed to go with, It's like, I hated that shit because it's like, no, she held these people hostage. She did a horrible thing. Yeah. And she was sorry about it for 5 minutes, and then it was like, no, you know what? I was justified. Moves along. What the fuck? What is this? It's just... My main focus, my main gripe with that series is not that. The main gripe with the series is that, one, there was another big bad that was just manipulating her to do it. Easy cop-out. Mm-hmm. Right, and two is that we threw away the sitcom mentality halfway through the series. I think those episodes in the beginning were the most innovative I've seen the MCU in a while. Because it was a parody of the decades. You go to the 60s, the 70s, 80s, right? And it was was so
and I'll
cool.
say this: it wasn't really funny, but it was different,
right?
It's
of course
a sitcom is meant to be funny, but there weren't really any jokes that made me laugh, but I was more intrigued by what they were trying to present.
Especially with those little... go ahead.
You have those moments, I believe it's the first episode where they're all sitting at the dinner table, and it's black and white, and it's like a sitcom, and then the aspect ratio starts to change.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Wanda's broken out of mind control or something. It's kind of like, the fuck am I doing here?
Wanda's falling out of the simulation, right?
Yeah.
And then
immediately jerks right back in, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
I think one of the strongest moments of that show was the beekeeper coming out of the sewer.
Yes.
That was literally that was cinema, bro, because she saw it, and then the camera zoomed in on, and she says no, and then changes everything back to how it was. Yeah. It's like, whoa, wait, is she doing this? It's as if, you know what I think? It's as if the script was halfway done, and then they changed it. For real. It was kind of ridiculous, because, don't get me wrong, I don't mind, I think, what's the big witch, Agnes? I don't mind her... Agatha, yes, I don't mind her portrayal. She's fine. It's just...
Yeah, no, I like the actress.
Yeah, I like her too. But it's just, it felt like a massive cop-out. It's like, no, let her feel accountable for what she did. Because she did do this. Mm-hmm. It's like, actually, no, her spell made her do this, and it hinged on her emotion. It's like, no, let the audience feel some type of way about what Wanda did. You know, don't make it black and white. Well, make it black and white, but not that way. You get me? That's it.
So yeah, like, you know, there was an interesting premise and great ideas thrown with WandaVision, but it ended up becoming that same MCU kind of formula and format and tone and vibe, and it ended up being samey, and it made the show more forgettable than it should be.
Very much.
But then,
so.
you know, a lot of people shit on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you know that show, it does have its problems. There's like the villain, fuck the villains in that show. But for me, it's like one of my favorite MCU projects in general, because it's so boots on the ground compared to, you know, the things that we were used to at the time. Like, we had just come back off the end of Endgame. We'd come back off of Spider-Man Far From Home, where everything was this big Avengers-level threat. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier takes its time to show, you know, Sam with his family, living at home, dealing with, you know, problems with getting loans and a mortgage and that kind of thing. And it's very down to earth. And then it shows the kind of inner turmoil that Bucky has, you know, after being the Winter Soldier, and now he's helping people. It didn't feel like a generic good guy, bad guy kind of show. Because then you also had characters like John Walker, the supposed new Captain America appointed by the government. And then, you know, he ends up being this violent murderer. But you also see that deep down he does want to do good things, but he wasn't ready for it. And then he kind of starts leaning into the more darker side of him towards the end. But that kind of back and forth was interesting for a while, because it's like, okay, you know, this dude has a big ego, and he's kind of appointed to being the new Captain America, but he's Captain America visually, but not mentally. He doesn't have those same morals that Steve did.
Right. Because Steve had them ingrained ever since he was a kid. That's why the scientists picked him. It's like, he may not be the most physically opposing or anything like that, but he has the mentality. He's smart. And even though he's gone through so much shit, he still upholds his morals. Right.
And I'll say that, like, the show does have a lot of tension, because they do kill off characters unexpectedly, like John Walker's friend. There's a lot of interesting things that the show does, and the cinematography is fucking amazing in that show. Visually, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is one of my favorite, like, Marvel shows.
You can feel the budget,
you can feel the fucking budget, and it can be forgettable, and, you know, the villains are half-baked and not interesting and fucking whatever. But I think when it comes to establishing Bucky and Sam, and then, you know, like, you know, John Walker, and it really feels like they knew what they were doing. And so the show emphasized less on the being a superhero show, and it was more of just the why does the show need to exist? Why is it important?
You know what
I think, what's up?
I'll let you finish, but then I have a revelation. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, they're trying to justify why the show exists, and so I think that the arc of Sam kind of learning what it means to be Captain America and ultimately fulfilling that mantle made the show that much better, because the way it was executed didn't feel like anything that Marvel had done previously. It didn't feel like a generic superhero show. It genuinely felt like, what does it mean to be a superhero? You know, we hadn't really seen human shit like that since the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. They focused a lot on Sam just being a guy with the weight of the world on his shoulders. And it's like, you know, how do you deal with that kind of shit? And so I think that's why Falcon and the Winter Soldier is really underrated. Because people need to see that it's more than just superhero fighting bad guys. It's why is it important to be this hero? What does the mantle of being that hero represent?
However contradictory the story may seem. Right.
Oh, yeah. Again, it has its flaws, but I still fucking love the show.
I feel like WandaVision and Winter Soldier, Falcon, whatever the fuck, the rest of the shows, I feel like the Marvel projects in general, they all suffer now from being heinously rushed. You know, just because you throw $100 million, $200 million, whatever, fuck, hundreds of millions of dollars or something, doesn't mean that it's going to be done in a quality way. I mean, the best way to put it is, no matter how much money you throw at the writers, you're not going to force them to get any good ideas. you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that the shows were definitely rushed and they had to meet a deadline. And so while they had a really good premise and a really good foundation, a good structure, unfortunately they weren't given enough time to finish their building. You get my drift? And so they had to rush the blueprints a little bit. They had to, let's throw this plot in there. Let's keep our execs happy. I 100% believe that Marvel Studios, whoever the fuck, put them on a really, really tight fucking schedule that unfortunately didn't exactly leave them a lot of room to breathe and create the best version of that story that they possibly could. Instead, they were told to meet a deadline by any means necessary. Here's this extraneous amount of money. Do your work, Yeah. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And I feel like those series are a byproduct of there's definitely talent here. There's definitely a good premise here, but we got to meet a deadline. So let's just do this, to pivot, And unfortunately, it doesn't help shows like WandaVision where you could see it's beautiful and it's got some really good original ideas. But then in the second half, you start to realize like, oh, now they're falling back on on the shit that's worked in the past, yet has become unoriginal and rather stale. So,
yeah, and it's a big testament as to why Marvel's had to restructure the way they do everything in the last year or so. Because I mean, it's come out and said that the original MCU shows didn't have showrunners. They hired directors and writers and worked on it like a movie. They had movie-sized budgets, and they stretch that budget to fit 6 hours. And, the shows weren't made for multiple seasons either. They were all mini-series. WandaVision's 1 season.
Right.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, 1 season. Hawkeye, 1 season. They're basically just long movies.
I hear
you. And so, recently Marvel it's stretched into different branches. You got Marvel Animation, Marvel Television, and now Marvel Studios that works specifically on the movies. And it's just crazy that Marvel just really thought they could throw money and hire a couple people to work on a show and justify calling it a show, Like you said, they had interesting premises and ideas, but these shows weren't made to last more than just a few episodes.
So it falls apart.
Yeah, and it's crazy how that works.
Once again, it's the fact that they rushed them, but I do agree with that as well, as that you can tell that these were movie scripts that were brought down by the length. It's like, oh, we got to add more, and how much time are you giving us? Fuck. Yeah. So
like the only show that really felt made to be a TV show was Loki, and that's why it had a successful 2 seasons.
I have to see Loki. I hear good things.
Hey yo, cinema.
That's
all I'm gonna say about.
You're doing the Martin pose right now, cinema.
Yeah. Bro, like the multiverse saga with Marvel has so much potential, and all of that potential is just from Loki.
Ooh, shit.
I know I'm like hyping up the series right now, but it's but it's true because that at first, right before the show came out, Loki, a lot of people are like, a Loki spinoff, who the fuck would want that? And little did we know this would become one of the most important Marvel projects in years.
To be honest, I did. Because mainly because of Tom Hiddleston. Like, I just knew it was like,
Tom Hiddleston's fucking amazing.
He'll bring his all. You know what I mean? Like, and that being said, I still haven't seen it. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it.
He's waiting for the perfect time.
Right? Yeah. It's on the list somewhere.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and then now we have movies like Deadpool and Wolverine that are going to be referencing Loki and calling back to it. So
I do have to see Loki, don't I? Oh shit!
It's 12 episodes total, seasons 1 and 2.
I can do that.
You can knock it out.
I can knock those out. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to dedicate one day.
Yeah, and then when you do watch it, we're gonna have to talk about it because that show is fucking cinema, bro.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it next week. All right, mark these words. Next week we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna finish it, and we're gonna talk about it like it's no fucking tomorrow. All right, I'll make sure to make notes and everything. Fucking hell.
Yeah. It's the MCU at its finest. When we think back to the olden days of the MCU, right? It's like, damn, it used to be so good. What happened? Loki makes you feel like you're back in the day. Yeah. It's like, okay, this is the Marvel that I know. This is the Marvel I grew up with. I don't know what they did different, but Loki just hits that feeling that you need when it comes to Marvel.
Yeah,
It's so fucking good.
let me tell you something about Marvel, bro. Like, we talk a lot of shit, right? But let's talk about some good things when it comes to Marvel. I feel like the entire Infinity Saga for me, well, it has its moments of flaws, especially the Incredible Hulk, Thor: The Dark World, some of the Iron Man plot. I love Tony Stark. I love Robert Downey Jr. He literally elevates those films to a T. But if it wasn't Robert Downey Jr. at the helm, those films wouldn't be that good. I'm just being honest.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. But I can't help but say that the Infinity Saga is something that where you catch lightning in a bottle and you continue to replicate that formula in different ways and you still have that fucking lightning in a bottle. The Infinity Saga is literal cinema, and I will show my children all of those films. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, of course.
It's
of course.
peak cinema, bro. I mean, we've never had something like this ever. It's never existed. What, 24 films in one universe? No, that's never happened. Yeah. The most we got is 9 for Star Wars, you know what I mean? And then two spin-offs, so 11,
Yeah. I still, remember being a kid, and, you think back to, like, The Dark Knight or something. It's like, damn, you ever think this Batman's going to meet Superman?
Yeah.
Or, like, if they announce, like, a new DC project, it's like, ooh, do you think they're going to cross over with another hero?
And they never do it.
And then you get to the Avengers, and you're like, bro, they put all these fucking characters together in one movie, and it works. Like,
it works so good that it works so well that the DC had to fucking copy him. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. I remember that. Yeah, when I was a little kid, thinking, it's like, oh, I would love it if these superheroes ever crossed over, but that'll probably never happen. Nowadays, it's like the thing that has to happen. You know what I mean? It's like, no, are you kidding me? We have to put Wolverine and Deadpool in the same film. Are you kidding? It's like, oh, wait, we're doing that? Fuck yeah, because 10 years ago, that shit would have never happened.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy how much has happened since the beginning of the MCU.
I just love,
because we thought Deadpool would never exist in a movie.
Yeah,
that shit was a fantasy for so long.
It was such a fantasy that it was so impossible that Ryan Reynolds allegedly leaked fucking test footage in order for it to be made. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. First of all, I just want to say that a lot of people are against the whole fan service thing that a lot of studios are doing, and I get that and I understand it. But bro, when I was a kid watching all of these fucking clash ups and team ups, now team ups are just normal. Like, team ups happen in regular fucking horror hero movies now. It's ridiculous, But back then, 15 years ago, thinking about team-ups, no fucking way. That was like something that was limited to like animated films or TV shows, right? It was never really something that happened live. That's why Freddy versus Jason was such a big movie when it came out, because that shit never happened, bro. Gee, two massive horror icons teaming up. Oh, man.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, an animated movie I used to rewatch all the time was Hulk versus. I don't know if you ever saw that. There were 2 movies, so it was an animated like disc, but it came with 2 discs.
One versus Wolverine, and one versus Thor.
The other versus Thor. Yeah,
those were.
I used to watch Hulk versus Wolverine on repeat, dude, because that movie had Wolverine, Deadpool, a shit ton of other X-Men characters, and then you had Hulk, and it's like this movie is insane. Like, and now it feels so possible in live action in 2024. It feels like that shit, they could make it, like, green light it immediately if they wanted to. It's like, we can put Hulk and Wolverine in a movie together with Deadpool. Not? Like, no problem.
Dude, and now, especially now that R-rated films are so commercially successful, it's crazy how Joker, once again, is the pioneer of that. Joker pioneered the $1 billion R-rated film. Then Oppenheimer confirmed that as well. They continue to nail that in the coffin. So now we're getting Deadpool and Wolverine, which I know will break $1 billion. It might break $2 billion. So we'll see. I hope it does. I hope it really does. I think it will. I mean, it's the most marketable R-rated film I've ever heard of. I'm just saying.
It's insane because Deadpool also almost made $1 billion. It didn't quite hit it, but it was right there. It was so close. I think it made like 800 million or something. Deadpool was crazy, and then Deadpool 2, I don't think made as much money as the first, but I mean, shit.
Still made a lot.
that movie's still really fucking cool.
Well, you know, now that I think about it, Deadpool is the one that pioneered the marketable R-rated film. Yeah. And then it was
Didn't hit
Deadpool.
a billion, but it was
Right.
almost.
But then Joker threw that fucking recipe into the stratosphere, and then the Batman really fucking threw it. It was crazy. Fucking hell.
And like, I immediately thought, because I rewatched Deadpool 1 and 2 with my sister the other day, and I immediately think of that line in the beginning of Deadpool 2 where he says something about like that he's bigger than Jesus, or no, he says that like the only person that's better than him is Jesus, and then he said domestically at least we beat him overseas where there's no such thing as religion.
That's funny, actually. Domestically, at least.
Domestically, at least we beat him overseas where there's no such thing as religion.
Yeah, right. Fuck it all.
But yeah, no, Deadpool like being the top 2 highest grossing R-rated movies of all time is crazy. Not anymore, but at the time.
Yeah, but at the time, yeah, indeed. Oh, man. Peak.
Yeah. And it's insane where we're at now that anything is possible with comic book movies.
Oh, well, yeah, don't even get me started. I love that there's so much free accessibility out there, you know. And I also feel like there's a lot of directors. We're not even talking about superhero stuff right now. I feel like there's also a lot of creations that are being made because studios are more willing to make experiments, because now they're understanding they would be more experimental because now they're understanding that como se dice, we can't follow the cookie cutter formula anymore. It's really hard to follow that because people are starting to not give a shit. You know what I mean? They're starting to not, because they're starting to understand that it's the same thing over and over. Why wouldn't they just watch the old movies? For example, a lot in the gaming universe, a lot of AAA games, they follow that formula. They underperform. You know, they really do. People are craving original experiences like Baldur's Gate 3. You know, it's crazy how people are craving those single player experiences, and those games are making a ridiculous amount of money. Yet those games that continue to follow the formula, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, those games are underperforming, you know, because they're following the formula. It's a joke. So
and then you have those games like God of War that they break through because of their, you know, the gameplay is a lot of fun and the writing is really good. The Last of Us, the gameplay is not anything, you know, revolutionary.
Special. It's not even close to special, but the story's perfect.
Yeah.
And then Uncharted 4 was able to do both. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is going back to what you said earlier about fan service, and you know, a lot of people write that shit off. It's fan service. But when you have a game like God of War, right? When they come back after years of not having a game, but then they make callbacks, I don't see it as just fan service. It's paying respect to the fans that have dedicated their time to these franchises.
When fan service is done right, it's an homage. And homages have never been a bad thing, but people like to write them off. Yeah, go ahead.
And especially when it's important to the character, like a character like Kratos.
It's relevant.
His past is so important.
Oh,
to understanding who he is and his mindset. So, you know, when people talk about, you know, upcoming MCU movies, right? And they're like, oh, like what's the cameos going to be and all that stuff. Like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. People were like, oh, Deadpool's going to be in the movie. It's going to be all this crazy shit. And then you watch the movie, there's not really any crazy cameos. There's like, you know, a couple, but there's nothing major. There's not that fan service isn't there.
Right.
The movie's just focused on telling a good story and, you know, being the movie. They just want to make a Doctor Strange movie.
Now, people kind of lost their mind about the Fantastic Four and whatever. It's like, but that's all like in a different universe. That's not ours.
Yeah, and then immediately people wrote the movie off. It's just like, it's not what I expected it to be. You know, I was expecting so much more with the title Multiverse of Madness, and it's just, I feel like people now, when we look at fan service, a lot of people look more for that and don't think about the story that's being told.
About the overarching universe. They think, oh, how is this going to contribute? Is this adding anything new? Is this revolutionary? When really they should be thinking about the singular story. What is this movie providing? And a lot of people go into it with false expectations, just like the Batman in 2020, was it 2022?
Yeah,
I keep saying that. Yeah, the 2022 Batman. A lot of people thought it was going to be action. It was going to be a blockbuster. No, it was a Batman film that leaned on the detective side. People don't take films for what they are. They have their expectations, then go into the film thinking it's going to be something, and don't allow and they judge it as if it was that thing that they thought it was going to be, rather than what it was. You know. Like, imagine if I walked into Long Legs thinking it was going to be a comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't make sense, you know? Fucking no.
Yeah, and I think that that's such an important thing with the way people talk about movies nowadays is it's exactly like you said. People judge it based on the thing that they thought it was going to be.
They expect it
and
to
not
be.
what
right.
it was.
Indeed.
And it's just, that's not how you should perceive movies at all. That's not how you review movies or criticize anything.
That being
you can't
said,
have it conform to what you want it to be.
That being said, if the marketing campaign made you believe that, then maybe that I could see. You know, it's like, the marketing campaign really misrepresented it, and it was egregious. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. You know, but besides, if it's only like a couple things that the marketing kind of lied about, then I don't really like the argument. But if like the marketing is really different than the film, it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I see what you're going for.
It's like if Joker was marketed to be like a 90s rom-com.
Yeah.
And then you go see it and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, imagine if they sold Joker as like this massive action drama where like there was explosions and like Heath Ledger level. It's like, no, but that's not what it is. You know, it's just not. And that's what the marketing reflected, that it was a psychological drama. You know what I mean? That like really burns out the tension and shows the filth that is Gotham. You saw that, and you see that in Joker Folie à Deux. You know, it's the same thing. So really strong marketing that shows what the movie is and doesn't lie to you or misrepresent it, and it's still great, really well made, the marketing. So there you go.
And I really feel like at this point in time, fan service is nothing more than a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they tease, right? They tease a lot, especially, you know, the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine. You look at the trailer and, you know, there's references to Ant-Man and all these other things. And it's just like, oh, who's going to be in the movie, right? Who's going to show up? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And I'm more interested in, is the movie going to tell an interesting story? Are they going to make me care about Deadpool and Wolverine on whatever adventure that they're on?
Especially Wolverine. Are they actually going to make his story tragic and not just like a dumb parody?
Are they going to justify Logan?
Yeah.
Because this is before Logan. Are they going to justify that? It has to be a prequel to Logan. That's it.
I feel like it's good marketing, mainly because they're addressing the fact that like, oh, people are gonna like the Sabretooth fight. People are gonna they've been waiting 20 years for this. You better take those arrows out. You look embarrassing, right? Whatever, right? What I think is going to happen is I think that they're definitely going to lead into the fan service, but they're also going to address it. It's like, it's a bit shallow, but you know, fan service, right? But I think that the story's gonna matter where it's supposed to matter, and that's with Wolverine and Deadpool. I think the story will be very strong with those two individuals specifically.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be more a criticism towards the filmmakers and, you know, the people that make these movies, is that a lot of times they use the IP, right, the name, like the Batman, to automatically assume that we are emotionally attached with what's going to happen in the movie, when that should not be the case at all. A lot of times I feel like you go into a movie and they just kind of expect you to know like who Spider-Man is and why you should give a shit, rather than, you know, kind of reintroducing you to the character. And I'm not saying do the origin all over again. I'm saying give the audience a reason to care about this specific story, even if it's a sequel. You have to have us care about what's happening in the sequel. You have to justify why this sequel exists.
No matter what the movie
is,
no matter than what the movie is about, and no matter what no matter if it's a sequel in a long series, it doesn't matter. There has to be some certain level of setup and uniqueness from the other films that are in its series. It is what it is. You have to have a certain level of setup because you have to make us care all over again. Because this is a movie, not a TV show. This is a film. All right, so
yeah,
I feel like the MCU also had problems with that. You know, definitely.
For sure, yeah.
But como se dice, I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine will meet expectations and will do very well.
I think so too.
Where I think it may lack is its villains. You know, I feel like they're going to be more surface, one note. You know, I hope they're not, and maybe they'll prove me wrong. But I feel like they're definitely going to go for the more one-note fan service villains and really just focus on the protagonist story, which may be really good. But it's hard for me to think that they're really going to write Logan like to the level that he's been written in the past, especially with his 2017 movie. Like that's the best version of Wolverine I've ever seen, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to do better or on par, you know? So we'll see. Maybe they will.
And, you know, I'm not trying to give an excuse to Deadpool and Wolverine, but, you know, forgettable villains are kind of Deadpool's format. Because rewatching Deadpool 1 and 2 recently, you know, you have Francis in the first one, who, like, he's an entertaining villain, but obviously it's a Deadpool origin movie. He's the main focus.
Well,
he's the spotlight.
I feel like the antagonist
Francis is kind of just there.
I feel like the antagonist really was Cable until it got befriended, right? And then it was them both trying to cure Francis of what he had,
two,
right?
Yeah.
In 2, right? In 1, what was it?
You're thinking of 2.
Oh,
I'm thinking of Francis Deadpool 1.
You're right.
2 is Russell.
My bad. I'm like, okay, so Russell. Okay, so let's talk about Francis. You're right. Francis is a very forgettable villain, but I think that's a byproduct of the fucking budget. I really do.
It's the budget, and it's also the story that the movie's trying to tell. You know, the way they go about introducing Francis in the movie is like, he's generic mutant bad guy. It's like, okay, like you see it right from the beginning. Like he's having a mysterious arms deal with some dude in a suit that we don't even know his name. And then they're talking about shipment, and you don't give a fuck about what he's talking about, but the movie is just like, generic bad guy. That's all you need to know. And so that's kind of the point.
Right.
And then you get to Deadpool 2, and they try to do something different with Russell, and you know, he's going to be a villain in the future. We need to stop that. But the first half is Cable, because it's like, Cable's trying to kill a kid. And that's fucked up.
I know that Josh Brolin doesn't look like he could play Cable, but he plays Cable. I really like him as Cable.
I really love him as Cable.
I'm not even joking. He's great. Josh Brolin in general is great. He's a badass.
Oh, yeah.
Real short, but he's a badass.
Yeah. They make a lot of those jokes with Deadpool, too.
Yeah. It's like, you're not 7'12".
My favorite is when Deadpool is kind of explaining the plan to his team, and it's like, and watch out for Cable. He's a small fella, 5'11", not like the comics. Oh, damn. 5'11" ain't even that short.
That hurts, bro. 5'11"? No, imagine being 5'11". Yikes. That's kind of fucked up. I'm not going to lie.
My dad's 5'11".
Damn. No, I bet you he tells you he lost an inch, but over age. You know what I mean? It's like, I used to be 6 feet like you, Dorian, but you know, age catches up to you. And if he hasn't, he will. Trust me. He will.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man.
You know, I'm glad to be over 6 feet.
Same.
But forgettable villains is kind of Deadpool's thing. So with Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm not expecting anything from the villain really. I just want to see Deadpool and Wolverine. I know it's like an excuse for the movie, but if the villain's not interesting, as long as they don't have too much screen time, I won't really care.
My thing is, as long as the villain isn't bad. You know, like, for example, if the villain is like very contradictory and like kind of standoffish and annoying, is like, okay, that's gonna take away from the experience. But if the villain is just like, it doesn't have to even be generic. It's just like something that we're familiar with, and it doesn't get too much screen time, and the movie focuses on the backstories of both both Deadpool and Wolverine, preferably more of Wolverine. Wink, wink. Then I'll enjoy it a lot more, very much so.
Yeah, they really need to do a lot with Wolverine in this movie.
Yeah,
because after Logan, it's like bringing Hugh Jackman back that's risky.
That's hard.
I mean, we love Hugh Jackman and we love Wolverine, but you need to justify it.
You
really need to justify bringing him back.
This needs to be a story that like rivals Logan. Yeah, it really does. So we'll see.
Sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like an excuse to have Hugh Jackman back. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I would prefer a reason for him to be back other than money. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's it.
Exactly.
Because guess what? It'll be fun in the theater, but then I'll forget about it. If it's not if it's not something that I genuinely can take home with me and truly think about, like with Logan, then you know, it's not exactly an experience I would prefer. That's it.
Yeah.
I would prefer experience that actually means something, and I can remember a year from now thinking, damn, that made a lot of sense. You know how many times I've seen like really good films and like 2 years later, like I learn a life lesson. It's like, oh, just like that one guy. You know? It just I need that. For example, when I was growing up, I didn't have much of a father figure in my life. And a lot of the learning that I did about life was through TV shows, movies, stuff like that. And watching movies and like, for example, if I were to watch a film about addiction, a lot of films are like show the harmful things that addiction can lead to, like drugs and that kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why I stayed away from it so much, was because those films showed how bad things can get for those people. And so when I see that happen to other people and like I see it in color, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, makes sense. Staying away from that. It's a life lesson. And as a little kid, I didn't have a lot of that because I only grew up with my mother. And while I love her, she was, como se dice, she did the best that she could, and she did a very good job. She wasn't really much of a disciplinary, you know? She always kind of let me do things the way I wanted, you know? And so when it came to learning life lessons and learning how the world really works, films helped me out in a very big way, you know? So as far as especially when it comes to emotional intelligence, I understand why how people are traumatized and how it could affect them and their daily decisions because of films, because of TV shows, because there's so many unique choices. And that's why my favorite aspect of any movie is character work, because you can take that and apply it to real life, you know? So I prefer an experience I can take home with me.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So hopefully Deadpool and Wolverine can supply that. If it doesn't, and it's just a fun, dumb comedy film, sure, I'll like it, but I'm going to talk a little shit on it because he's like, you know, I prefer a more serious situation. It is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Deadpool 1 and 2 did a good job of kind of avoiding that. Everyone just remembers the comedy, but, you know, you go back and watch Deadpool 1 and 2, and there's a lot of really great emotional moments that I think a lot of people forget, and a lot of people don't realize that Deadpool, pretty sad character.
Yeah.
I've explained earlier in the podcast, I don't really read Marvel comics, but I have done research, and Deadpool is one of the characters that I have seen, you know, panels and learned from, you know, how he is in the comics versus how he is in the movies, just from YouTube, really, learned from YouTube. But Deadpool is very tragic character, and he's, you know, the idea of, the movies always tell you, oh, Deadpool's not a hero because he kills people. There's a lot more reasons as to why he's not a hero. And in the comics, he can do some fucked up shit.
Hell, even in the movies, he does some fucked up shit. I mean, the main thing for me in the movies is that you can see that he's tortured. He goes out there killing all these people, trying to find tidbits. I mean, he was a mercenary for the longest time, just doing stuff, killing high targets, high value targets, just because he wanted the money. You know, and I guess that was kind of a way for him to release his rage. You know, very well trained rage, but indeed rage. You know,
And then the Deadpool video game is the complete opposite. It's all humor, it's all fun, all silly, all jokes. They completely get rid of the emotional side of the character to the point where Deadpool is just kind of a jackass for the whole game, and you don't really care about him. You're just kind of there for the humor, and it's entertaining for a bit. But he is annoying. It's
not worth a replay. You play it once, then 10 years later, you come back and play it again. And I mean, that's it.
Just for a quick laugh.
Yeah, right. It's not memorable. That's what I'm saying is like, yeah, those stories can do well and they can be fun in the moment, but you can't take anything home with you. You just can't.
Yeah.
And I will never prefer those experiences to experience that I can bring home with me. It's very simple.
Yeah. You'd prefer a Deadpool movie versus the Deadpool video game.
Very much so. And I don't get me wrong, I like the Deadpool video game. I remember watching it on YouTube. I thought it was fun as fuck. And then I played it and I thought it was funny as fuck. But bro, like I said, you don't remember much after a week. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't bring anything with you. When I watch a movie, like what's a good example? When I watch a movie like The Shawshank Redemption, you know, and
why did I think of the same fucking movie, bro?
Because it's a basic one. Because we're fucking, bro. We've known each other for 10 years. All right, we're on the same wavelength, you and me. Fuck it out. But yeah, we watched. Come on, say so. When I watched Shawshank Redemption, that term institutionalized became such a revelation. Some men don't want to leave prison after 30, 40 years because that's all they know. That word, institutionalized, has been used in my vocabulary for years after that. You know, it's like when somebody's so used to a way of life that they don't want to innovate, they don't want to change because they're afraid of it. That doesn't just apply to prison. That applies to a lot of people. They're institutionalized just in a different way. Like people who depend on the government, you know, for decades, and they don't want to actually do something outside of their wheelhouse. Or people who are stuck in the same job for 30 years. They fucking hate it. You know, or 20 years because they fucking hate it, but they're afraid to do something else because this is all they know. They're institutionalized in a different way, but that's exactly what they are. You bring that story with you. That's why I appreciate that story so much more than a dumb comedy, you know? And that's it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I mean, it kind of goes back to, you know, when I was shit-talking Ant-Man 3. I made a video on it on my channel, but a big problem I have with the movie is that it's a very bare-bones popcorn adventure movie. It's, you know, you have the good guy and you have the bad guy, and not much really happens.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel anything from it. I didn't feel any emotional growth from the characters or anything for me to latch onto emotionally. And so, therefore, I write the movie off because it's not for me.
Like, or even then, even if you like it, it's like, yeah, it was fine, and then you forget about it.
Yeah,
because you will never prefer an experience that is a roller coaster ride over an actual cinematic masterpiece, or hell, even movies that aren't masterpieces that have issues still stick out to me because they try to relate to the characters and they try to make them human and they try to do more and they try to innovate. I feel like a good example of a film that is nowhere near perfect but is very memorable is 2003 Holes. I feel like that was a great example of that because it wasn't perfect and it's definitely dated, but it brings up so many things about death and romance, and it's like those little things that you can bring home with you and that are very memorable. Holes is a great example of a film that is not perfect but will last, and that when you look back on it, it's like, damn. Yeah, this film was underrated, you know? That's it.
It's that emotional resonance that the film gives you.
Yeah, and you can relate to it so well, and it also makes you feel something. For example, when they were going back to that old romance about kissing Kate Barlow and the black guy that would come in and fix her church, I can fix that guy. You know, I love that relationship dynamic, and when that thing happened to him at the end, I won't tell you if you don't know. But that thing happened to him at the end. You really felt that, and you understood kissing Kate Barlow in that moment. And it taught you that kind of prejudice, that racism, that hatred and jealousy over that man has what I can't is a horrible thing to witness from the victim's side. So that's why you kind of stay away from jealousy and hatred. You know, those lessons that are being taught through cinema are just something that sticks with you. They always will. You know, so.
Damn, I need to watch Holes again.
Holes was great. We gotta watch that movie 100%. That was a fucking click. And the soundtrack, dig 'em up, dig it, dig 'em up, that was fire, bro. And no shit, Sigourney Weaver's in it. I forgot.
I remember that.
Oh,
I remember that she's in it. Yeah.
Peak.
Yeah, it's been years, bro. I watched it when it was playing on TV.
Oh yeah, me too. I gotta buy the Blu-ray
and everything.
Yeah, the commercial break. Oh my god, you're watching Disney Channel, face head. Oh man, you gotta love it, Chief. But yeah, I can tell you right now that I will always prefer a film that gives you something to bring home. That's it.
Yeah,
it is what it is. It doesn't have to be perfect.
You know, I can take a popcorn movie. I mean, I like Jason X.
Of course. Like, there's always a place for it. Of course, right? Yeah. There's always a place for popcorn, fun films, but I can never say that popcorn films are a preference of mine. Maybe in a moment, but in the long run, no, not so much.
Yeah. Like, I go back and watch popcorn movies all the time.
Right, because they're dumb fun and you want to turn your brain off.
Yeah.
But if you want to be enlightened...
One of my favorite genres is slasher movies.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard to find a good slasher that has emotional resonance to it, because it's a movie made where they're just going to kill off all the characters anyway, so what the fuck is the point?
Right.
You know, and you're just kind of there to have fun. It's like maybe they're creative with the kills, or maybe the premise is something that's so outlandish that it just makes you want to keep watching, you know? But it's really hard to find that emotional
Tell
like,
me about
resonant slasher movie, but there are some that really stick out, like Jason, Friday the 13th Part 4. That's a really good one. Friday the 13th Part 6 is my favorite because that one's goofy.
I feel like
it has a lot of the charm that 4 does, but it's a bit more goofy.
I feel like the best representation of that, if we're talking about like old slashers, Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yes.
When those characters died, I felt something. Oh yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is how you do a sequel.
100%. First of all, I feel like one of the great contributors to like me actually feeling something for the characters is that they all had like very unique powers surrounding their trauma, right? And so like when you saw those powers in their dream world, you're like, yeah, they have a chance. They can beat Freddy. And then near the end of the film, people start dying. He's like, oh shit. And that's why it felt like kind of a spit in the face in the beginning of 4 when they just killed off those characters like it was nothing. Like, what the fuck? But you felt the tension in 3 is like, oh shit, they could really die because it showcased that they had the balls to kill characters that you cared about, you know? So that kind of build up for me.
It goes back to what we talked about.
Go ahead.
It goes back to what we talked about with fan service and long-term investment because they brought back the main girl from the first Nightmare on Elm Street to be in 3.
And it made it stronger.
It made her stronger, and it adds to the emotional resonance of the movie. Because we understand her already, you know? So now we just have to learn about all these new characters, and we learn about them through her.
Yes.
And it's so good.
Just like how like we learn about a Mortal Kombat universe through Johnny Cage, you know what I mean? Like we latch on to somebody that we really like, that we already know, and then, you know, and then he experiences everything as if it was brand new. And then we experience that brand new shit through him. It's broken down to him, but really it's broken down to us, you know?
Yeah. And not only that, you know, he's a character that he has a personality. He's fun. He's, you know, you don't just latch onto him because he's the audience surrogate. He is his own character, right, with his own feelings and his own emotions.
And you see more of that throughout the film. Yeah, especially his serious side. Like when he beats, Shinnok and MKX, you know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna fight for the woman I love, you know, and like I understand that definitely is like, oh, but Shinnok power level wise, like yeah, sure, whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, story wise, I really like that they can actually give Johnny a serious side, and it makes me latch onto that character more, you know. Yeah,
and it's one of the many reasons why the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie didn't work because Cole Young. They made a new character to be the audience surrogate instead of just using Johnny Cage. And they made Cole Young the most generic, basic character that you don't really feel for. They gave him a wife and a daughter, but we don't really give a shit because he's not interesting. He's just kind of there to be like, who's that?
He's the Hollywood.
What does he do?
He's the Hollywood. He's the Hollywood recipe, just like Brad Pitt in World War Z. There's not really much to latch on to. Hollywood just gives him a family and says, go from there. He has no story to him whatsoever. It's a joke. You know, and then they give him like an undeserved finale moment. It's like, oh, he's tough now. I was like, okay, sure. Give me Johnny next time, please.
The only thing I remember about World War Z is the dude that slipped and shot himself in the face. That shit was funny as fuck.
That was literally the best moment of the film. Yes, I agree. I'm not even joking about that because that was like the only part where I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. Holy shit. You know? Like, oh my God. It's like, I thought it was going to go uphill from there, but no, it was filled with inconsistencies after that. I did like the finale zombie scene where like he was walking through. I'm like, yeah, that was cool. Sure.
No, I didn't finish the movie.
Yeah, well, smart. Okay, you know what? Good. Yeah, but because guess what? That little scene isn't worth it. The 2 hours is not even worth it. You know.
Yeah.
But it really is. It really is crazy the levels of difference a movie can be just based off of the lead. You know.
Yeah.
It really is.
And there's a lot of movies that have really unique like premises that shouldn't work. But they work really well because they're willing to explore more with what that premise can do. Like, what was that movie that you showed me with Owen Wilson? You know what I'm talking about?
Owen Wilson? I don't even know his name. Hold on. I don't even know who he is. Let me see.
Lightning McQueen.
Safe. I think that's what it's called. Let me see.
Yeah. No Escape.
No Escape. Yes, that's the one. Yeah. I just looked it up. No Escape. Yep.
Yeah. Like, that movie was interesting as hell.
And I'm right. And it wasn't perfect. But it was such a unique premise. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a unique premise, and they were willing to explore it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they really dove into how people are affected in this world by, I forget what the cause of everything was.
Okay,
but,
so let me break it down. Let me break it down a little bit. So when it comes to not safe. No, Jesus Christ, what was it called?
No Escape.
No Escape.
No Escape.
I've seen that film like 3 times. I remember watching it first initially thinking, damn, this is terrifying, you know, because I feel like so basically it's a family, a husband, a wife, and 2 daughters, and the husband has to move over to a different country to work there. You know, he's like a big exec. He's not an exec, but he's a pretty vital worker in this company. And unfortunately, this company is fucking with the economy over in that third world country. So the country kind of revolts, and there's a bunch of rebels that go over to that company and starts killing all of the execs, and the father is one of those people that they want to kill. So the father needs to take his wife and take his 2 children and try to escape, except the father isn't John Wick. He's just some guy. You know, he's not out here killing rebels. He's not out here doing whatever. He's not an agent. He's just some fucking guy. Yeah. And he's
just Owen Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. And the rebels aren't just killing the execs. They're killing everybody that gets in their way. They're killing a bunch of Americans. They're killing a bunch of Americans, and these rebels are doing it in horrible ways. Innocent women, children, guys, it doesn't matter. They're doing all this just so they can kill these head honchos, and Owen Wilson was one of them. And it showcases like the extent that the family will go to escape. They're running away. I remember this one sequence where they're on the roof of the apartment building that they were living in, and the rebels actually broke through the door, so they had to jump from that roof to another roof. And there was like a massive jump where like the kids were scared and they had to force the kids. I remember there was one kid who didn't want to jump, so Owen Wilson literally grabbed her and threw her off, and that was the only way that he could do it. And bro, oh my God, it was the tension in that film when they were hiding from the bad guys was something else, you know? And so I see where you're going with it. It's like, yeah, it's not a perfect film, but that premise being explored at such a slower burn, and them actually having balls to show how bad these situations can get, I really enjoyed that film. It's not perfect, but it's damn original, and you feel that thriller, that tension, bro. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And it sticks with you.
Oh, yeah.
And it sticks with you. It could have been a forgettable movie.
Yes.
But it's not. Like, I just brought it up right now. It's not.
Because the premise is so interesting, and they treat it with respect. It's not parody. I think the most comedic part about it was like that agent and his buddy, and they're not in the film that much, you know? Mm-hmm. That's really it. No Escape is a great film. I think people should watch it. Even if you don't like it after watching it, I think everyone should watch it. I think it's a good, unique film. If you need a breath of fresh air, No Escape is exactly that.
Yeah. Because he's got a lot of those.
I've never seen anything like that. No Escape.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I think I got everything I need to say out. How about you?
Yeah, I forgot what the original topic was. We went on a lot of tangents.
Yeah, we did. I mean, the original topic of the conversation was like films that leave you with something to bring home, right? And that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? But I feel like a film that explores a new idea, even if it's not perfect, is infinitely more valuable than the same cookie cutter stuff that's popcornish, if you will.
For sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Anything else, Guido? How are we feeling?
I got nothing, but damn, that conversation felt good.
That was a damn good conversation. That was a 2-hour, 20-minute conversation. If you made it this far into the podcast, let us know. Give us a safe word. The safe word is pineapple. Indeed.
I was not expecting pineapple.
Indeed.
But I'll take it.
I like pineapple. What did you want to use?
No, I didn't think of one, but I just wasn't expecting it to be pineapple.
Pineapple. I mean, coconut could work too, but we'll do pineapple. If you watch to the end of this podcast, put pineapple in the comments. We'll know who's a true fan.
Yeah. and if you got to this part, say coconut as well.
Say coconut as well. Do both pineapple and coconut. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pineapple coconut. That's a bitchin' flavor.
Yeah. Because if someone just does pineapple, then they're not real fans. But if they do pineapple and coconut, we know they're real ones. You know what I'm saying?
Damn right. All 0 of them. It's gonna be great.
Yep. I'll comment it.
Yeah, Squeeto's a true fan. Yeah. That was
You're like, I listened because I was there.
Indeed. All right, brother. That was a good one.